How are you? Thanks for joining the show. Oh, Prince might be on mute or frozen.
Prince, you
There
hear
we
us?
Doing
You
go. We
good,
good?
man.
got him.
I'm
We got
excited
him.
for tonight's draft, just like every other fan.
There you go, Prince. So, Prince, man, you were first team All American, Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year, went off to win a Super Bowl. You
You
lived
guys,
and breathed, draft night. Before we talk about the draft, tell me a little bit about like the days leading up to the draft. What were you doing to prepare for the big night?
Might be a connection issue. Can you hear us, Prince?
I mean,
There we go.
there's really nothing. Yeah, I can hear you guys clearly. What about
Cool.
me?
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
good.
it's
You're good.
it's good. Go ahead. Sorry.
Can you guys hear me good?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I feel like it's a little delayed, probably on my part. Um, no, I mean, there's really nothing you can do to like improve your draft or lose your or go lower, right? There's nothing you can do to improve your position. I mean, you're gonna see tonight, or as in every draft. I mean, there's so many surprises, so many trades. My draft was a big quarterback draft, so I was kind of slotted. Like, I was putting all my faith in Mel Kiper and Todd McShay. Like they had me going to the Niners and the Cowboys, so those were top 10, and I figured I was going to be out of the first or second cornerback taken. It was between me and Pat P, and so Pat P went at 5. So I'm thinking, okay, another team needs a corner. I'm coming right up, and a lot of quarterbacks were getting taken: Jake Locker, Blaine Gabbert, Christian Ponder, and stuff like that. So I just kept falling, and so I'm just looking at my phone. I know I'm talking about draft day now, but I'm just looking at my phone and I'm just like, all right, like ring already. And then it's funny because like your boys or other people will be calling you, hey, what's going on? I'm thinking, are you not watching? Like, get off my phone because you don't. The worst thing that can happen is you miss the call, right? But I'm sure the team is gonna either hit your agent or for whatever reason, but like you don't want to miss the call and stuff like that. And so when I finally got called by New York. It was a New Jersey number, and it's funny because I didn't know where the Giants were. I thought they were. I know where they were. I figured they were in New York, but come to find out, everything happens in New Jersey, and so yeah, I mean, it's one of the best moments of my life when I finally got called. But the waiting game, if for a guy like me, is just like you're just looking around. I remember Cam Newton was already standing up. As soon as it started, Cam Newton was already standing up. Like he knew already like his name was gonna get called and stuff. Like I promise you, I don't think he sat down. But it's an awesome moment, man. Super excited for these guys.
It's
Prince,
awesome.
let me ask you. Let me just jump in real quick. You mentioned Pat P, of course, which of course is Patrick Peterson for the uninitiated. But I'm curious. You mentioned Mel Kiper and Todd McShay, and there's a few of those guys out there now, so it's a little bit more diversified when it comes to the opinions and about incoming rookie draft stock. But I'm curious. Were those the two guys that all the incoming rookies were kind of paying attention to? And obviously they were talking highly of you, but were there, teammates of yours where they were saying sort of the opposite, like, hey, this guy's going to fall in the draft? I'm just curious, are those the guys that everybody was watching back then?
I believe so. Yeah, like and whatever. I always say, I always say, I owe milk. I mean, I feel like I put in the work. I put it on film. I was a solid player, but always say like coming out like I owe Mel Kiper and Tom McShay because as a junior I was on his big board for like seniors and stuff. So he did his homework. He's watching film. So like now I'm getting hyped up because of him, and I'm sure agents and I'm
Hmm.
sure some teams like look at what him and Todd McShay are saying. So I almost came out my junior year because Mel Kiper had me as like one of the like top 5 seniors returning, and so I almost came out, but I would say yeah, like those guys get listened to a lot. But now I think there's a guy named Daniel Jeremiah. His
Mhm.
name comes to mind. But yeah, there's people now with their own draft board. But I would say like those guys are like the pioneers for that.
For
So,
sure.
Prince, I want to go back. You actually jumped ahead and answered a couple of my questions about who you thought you were going to go to. Was it going to be the Giants, or you kind of already told me you thought you might go to the Niners? But going back a step, man, I see a lot of these guys wearing wild outfits before the draft, man. So I want to know your haircut, your swag, your suit. Did a family member pick it out, or was that all you? And what kind of look were you going for when you were going up there for draft day?
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to be casual. Didn't want to stand out too much, but it's funny because I had like this salmon pink shirt that I'm actually about to post on Instagram after we get off this. But I had this salmon pink shirt. I mean, going back, I would have never have worn that. I would have just did something simple, either a gray suit or a blue suit. But or you know what I would have done is paid more, um, just pay more respect to my heritage, my Nigerian heritage, because you, I'm about to post this photo on Instagram too. But you'll see like my parents wore their cultural garb, and I probably would have probably would have done that. And then my haircut was the same. I mean, I rocked earrings back then. I don't even know if that's a thing now, but
Prince,
I rocked earrings back then and stuff like that. But
I was gonna say, Prince, I
yeah,
think
I
you
mean,
got
but now
like,
these guys are NIL'd out. Like, so
Yeah.
these guys have all the ice, they have what they can rock, whatever.
yeah, I was gonna ask you, man. I feel like you got my show notes in your access to it or something like that. Because my question was gonna be, you have one of the most iconic photos of all time. At the draft with your family, and like you said, they're dressed the way that they were brought up. How did it feel to have your family there? And at that point in time, was that the time that you finally felt like you made it and you can give back to your family? And what was their influence in getting you to where you were? You with this, Prince, or no?
Yeah, so that moment, so when you get the invite, you have to get invited to go in the green room to go to the draft, right? And can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
Mhm.
you good. You good. Keep
Yep.
going.
Oh, okay. So you have to get invited to the draft, and so it doesn't matter. I mean, they just want to invite like guys that are going to be top picks. The NFL doesn't know, but they just want to invite guys they think is going to be top picks. And so when I got invited, I was either thinking, should I have a big house party, um, like at my house or at a restaurant or something, or should I go on stage and um, like give my parents that moment? And I feel like going on stage, my parents being recognized, the people, my Pop Warner coaches being recognized, the people, my sisters, the people who helped me get to where I was. I felt like that moment was more for them um, than it was for me. And so um, some things that my parents did was like they sacrificed a lot, meaning like they both worked graveyard shifts. They would work in the mornings, then work at night, so they couldn't really come to all of my games. And I'm super thankful for that because I have five sisters and me. That's a lot of mouths to feed and stuff like that. And so I would say them being sacrificial really, really allowed me to just focus on ball and do what I do. And every Nigerian kid knows though that parents don't care about sports. Like you could ask, like I remember I had to talk with Sam Acho and Emmanuel Acho, like their parents paid for them to go to like private school in Texas and they ended up getting scholarships to UT. But when you invest so much in a kid to go to private school, you want them to go to an Ivy League school. You want them to like to go to Yale, Harvard. Like I didn't pay all this much for school for you to just stay in state and go to UT. So my parents didn't really want me to play sports. Like they wanted me to be either a lawyer, doctor, or some type of teacher because Nigerians take so much pride in education. But then I think when football started to look like it was going to work out, I think they became all in.
So Prince, what are you up to? What are you up to these days? Because now, I mean, are you still trying to get back onto a team? Are you moving on? What's going on right now?
That's a great question. So, I mean, to be short and to be blunt, yeah, for sure. I'm going to play this year. I've had a couple of calls. I think right now teams really want to see what they can get out of the drafts.
Hmm.
So we'll just wait on that. And I'm a huge. I'm not a mogul yet, but I'm making noise in the real estate game.
There you go.
So that kind of occupies my day to day. And then I don't know if you guys have kids, but one of my favorite things to do is pick my kids up from school, and so and kind of embarrass them and stuff like that. Like always make them give me kisses like in front of all their friends and stuff, and I like kiss them and put them in a headlock and stuff like that. So that's probably another fun part. But yeah, just kind of being a normal civilian in a sense, and still working on my craft at the same time.
Now, Prince, you being a real estate mogul, I know we've talked off air. You're doing some things. These guys are in Vegas right now, man. They're gonna leave this draft, know that they got money in their pocket. Some of these guys are lucky that they're not 21, so they can't gamble. But what do you think the vibe is going to be like out in Vegas after knowing that you went top 5, top 10? I know you can still party out there. You don't have to be 21 to party out there. You can still get in the clubs. I'm sure
Right.
they'll find their way in. But what's your thoughts about having the draft in Vegas and also having, a team in Vegas? Because I'm sure you've been there before. I know I've been there a couple of times. It's a fun place to be.
Yeah. No, I mean, I had a short stint with the Raiders too, when they first went there in 2020, that COVID year. And first of all, I think it's awesome that it's in Vegas. Like I'm from Arizona, I live in Arizona. Vegas is one of my favorite places to vacation. Like forget the Bahamas, forget Turks and like I want to go to Vegas. And so I think it's awesome that it is Vegas. Vegas is starting to become a sports town, and so I think they might be bringing another professional sports team there, but and I and it's a play it's the entertainment capital of the world. So
Yeah.
everyone's going to go there. There's lots of things to do, and with there being lots of things to do, I mean there's lots of trouble to get in. And so I'm sure the cops are going to be on patrol at night, but I'm sure these guys have a lot of great people in their corner that can help steer them the right way. I mean, we saw what happened in the Pro Bowl. I think a couple of guys got kind of
In trouble?
dinged or whatever, kind of got yeah caught up and stuff like that. And so, but the thing with Vegas, I don't think Vegas like I don't want to go on a tangent here, but I don't think it's ever the place that that's to blame.
Yep.
It's the person, it's their self-control,
Hmm.
it's their discipline. Like um I've never drank alcohol in my life, right? So Vegas, I mean, like what's Vegas gonna
Do
do
to
to
you.
me? Like,
Yeah.
right? Because I mean, and I feel like not drinking saves me from a lot of trouble. Side note, I do plan on getting drunk at some part in my life. I don't know when, but um, but
We're
I'm
gonna
just
have a
saying,
win
like,
daily. We're gonna have a win daily party in Vegas prior to the season. So, one of our
right?
guests, Spencer, has never drink either. So maybe you guys
Oh
can have your
wow,
first drink together out there, man. So I'll show
that'd
you how
be
to party
awesome.
out
But
there. I'm a big fan of the pool parties out in Vegas, man.
yeah, I mean, and that's what I'm saying. So it's not like it's never the place. It's the person. And so like you've seen people get in trouble in Jacksonville. You've seen people get in trouble in Ohio, right? Like there's people get in trouble everywhere. And so it's now there's more access to it and stuff, but it's never the place.
Prince, I got a few things for you here. So first of all, at least parts of the Win Daily team are flying out to Vegas September 7th, which is the middle of the week, but we're going to be there through the weekend. So if that first time, you don't have to get drunk, maybe just having a beer or something, or just a sip of liquor, whatever you're into in that moment, you can come out and hang out with us. Tabs on us. We gotta host you if it's going to be your first time drinking. So September 7th, by the way, September 7th is not just a random date. It's the day before the Thursday night opening kickoff game, just so you're aware. It's just to mark that in your calendar. But
who do you guys think that's going to be?
Oh, what game?
Yeah.
That's a good question. By the way, Trayvon Walker is off the board.
Has to be LA.
Go ahead.
It have to be LA?
Yes.
It has to be the Rams, right? The defending champs? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that's gonna be interesting. I know one of the games have to be Seattle and Denver.
Oh, well, they're playing each other, I think, already.
Yeah, they are, but that has to be Monday night or something, Sunday night or something. So
Prince, I got a question for you, though, because one thing that really struck me is it sounds like, especially based on what Mel Kiper and maybe Todd McShay were saying about you your junior year, that you had an opportunity to come out and probably get drafted pretty high your junior year. I assume you had some people in your ear in that moment kind of telling you what your range would be if you came out early. And I'm just curious how close you were to coming out, because there are so many people who come out early because it makes sense to. And there are some people who stay, but in the sport of football, where you can get injured on it's one singular play that can potentially either end your career or set your career back quite a bit. The name that comes to mind for me is Bryce Love, who I believe is still on the Commanders roster, but he tore his ACL his senior year staying at Stanford when he absolutely could have come out. I think he was a Heisman Trophy runner-up the year prior to that, his junior year. So there's the good and the bad of that. I'm just curious, what was your decision-making process, and who did you have inside that decision-making process?
It's so funny. The only person I consulted in was my head coach, Bo Pelini. And so I trusted him, and I said, hey, I'm thinking about coming out. And he said, hey, I can try to get you a draft grade. And he said, it's looking like high third round or something like that, which, looking back now, it behooves him to tell me that, so I can come back and help him have another great year. But I like the corners coming out when the year before me were like Joe Hayden and Patrick Robinson out of Florida State. So they were solid guys and stuff like that. And so I feel like I made the right decision, and to kind of protect myself for the next year instead of getting hurt. In case I got hurt, I mean, there was a insurance policy by Lloyd's of London, so I took out an insurance policy. I think me and a couple of guys did, just in case something happened.
Smart.
And my agent ended up paying for that. It was one of his things, like, hey, I'll pay off your insurance thing, whatever. So that was pretty cool.
Awesome, that's great.
Valencia?
Yeah. So okay, first of all, September 7th. I'm just saying. Trayvon Walker, we had a few questions in here, Prince, from some of Theo in particular, who is of Nigerian ancestry. He's so happy you're on this show, for the record. And there's a lot of people that are dinging you for being a Philadelphia Eagle at one point in time. They said they'd like you if not for that. But is there, one of the questions from one of the comments was, were there any defensive backs that you've worked with or maybe know that are actually in this draft, and any sort of association there?
No. I can't.
Is that something that you've ever done before in terms of consulting with some cornerbacks that are coming out? Is it like, in terms of you being a mentor, whether it's somebody that's actually been on your team before or somebody that's coming out in the draft?
So I would say so. I remember I was Jalen's. Jalen was my rookie when I played for Jacksonville. Jalen Ramsey, and so it was so funny. I was with me and my boy Devon House, who's also a DB. We were both there. They signed me in the offseason. He was there the year before. He had a great year, 5 picks, 25 PBUs. He had an awesome year the year before. So I get there. And then so we're thinking, like, people are saying that we might get Jalen, but Jalen was supposed to go to the Cowboys at 4, and Jacksonville had 5. And then so we're just waiting. and then they pick Jalen. And so, anytime you pick someone that high, um, that person's gonna play, right?
Mhm.
Like no matter what. So then me and him were looking at each other like, hey, it's gonna be Jalen's already playing, like it's gonna be one of us. And what Jacksonville did, I think, well, was they didn't just give Jalen his spot. Like Jalen had to work, and Jalen worked. Like everybody knew Jalen was gonna be the guy he is now. Just his swag and just his measurables and stuff like that. And so yeah, that's my rookie corner story.
Prince, how is that coming in? Because he's certainly brash. He's certainly got a big personality, but he's a rookie. So you being a veteran, how is that when he comes in and he's that personality? That doesn't really seem to be your type of personality. Did you all clash or did you embrace that ultimately?
I mean, there's some stories, but the thing is though, like I was a first round pick, and so I know I know what my veterans did for me in taking me under my wing and kind of showing me the ropes. So I feel like I did the best I could for Jalen, right? I think some guys kind of operate like, hey, I'm not telling this guy nothing. This guy's trying to take food off my table. Like I can't give him any edge. Like it's a battle between us. But I've always thought of like my job is always to serve. So if Jalen needs help with this or whatever, I'm gonna help him, even if it's stuff off the field and stuff like that. But like you said, Jalen had a very very strong personality, and I mean, you guys, any other guys, some guys were probably rubbed the wrong way, and um, but for the most part, like Jalen loves football and Jalen loves competing, and Jalen, like, as soon as Jalen stepped foot on there, like he felt like he was the number one corner and he wants to guard the number one wide receiver,
Mhm.
and he earned the right to do that.
Question I
Texas, go ahead.
got for you right now, Prince. Looking at the league right now, I got two questions for you. Who do you think would be the most difficult cover when you get back into the league? And is there spots that you're looking to go to? Like what systems and what situations would you like to get back into? Specific teams or specific coaches that you like to work with at this point in your career?
Yeah, I mean, I still believe Devontae Adams is the number one receiver. Like I'll always say that. Like it's gonna be interesting though, like to see if he was the number one because of Aaron, and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And so I mean, but I feel like Aaron's already proved that he's that guy no matter who you put out
Yeah.
there. Like I'm gonna get somebody 100 yards or whatever. And so but I kind of say that with like tongue in cheek about Devontae. Like I still feel like he's the number one receiver. And then but it would be great to guard guys like a Jamar Chase, a Justin Jefferson. Like those guys bring a whole new flair to the game. I mean, even DK and DK, Debo, and AJ Brown. I mean, those guys bring a whole new flair um, to the game.
I gotta
And then
ask you, Prince. I gotta
if
Prince,
there's
let
a
me cut you.
spot, I mean, it would be great to.
I was going to cut you off real quick. You mentioned like five or
I'll
six
wait.
wide receivers right there, but you didn't mention Cooper Cup. And this guy is always wide open. And we say at the same time, he's not the fastest guy out there. How is he always wide open? And how does he get so much yak on pretty much every single play? He's not going down. He's going for 10. He's going for 15. He's getting that big play. And in the Super Bowl, those last two drives when Odell was out injured, it was just straight to Cooper. And everybody knew it was going there, but nobody can cover this dude.
Yeah. So I mean, well, to answer your question, you said you asked me who was who do I think was one of the best. Like I
Yeah.
think Devontae. I don't think I just think Devontae, just because I like to press, and guys like Devontae Adams, guys like Allen Robinson, guys like Keenan Allen, they're shifty, they're sudden, so they give me a little something on the line. So that's what makes it hard for me. And Cooper Cup is awesome. I mean, he's a hard worker, but I believe more times than none, I'm gonna be I'm gonna be I'm gonna be running with him. I'm not worried about him leaving me leaving me on the line anywhere. And so, but I mean, there's a lot of people. I mean, like Stephon Diggs is always a great cover and stuff like that. So, yeah. But let me ask you guys this: who do you guys think is more? I mean, before Odell got hurt, I mean, wasn't Odell looking like the number one or no?
I
He
think
was. Yeah, see, you can go.
well,
I'll
I
answer
I
afterwards.
think it depends how you define number one. I mean, he certainly was not the number one receiver if you actually, if you're looking at the stats and the receptions and things of that nature. The thing with Cooper Cup is they seem to scheme him perfectly. And Prince, you would know this better than us, but he was finding the soft spots in the defense all day. And Matt Stafford knew when and where
Right.
to find him in the soft spots of the defense all day. So to me, I think you could make the argument that Odell, even now, might be a little bit more talented when you're looking at quickness and agility and maybe even his hands. But man, Cup's open all day and he catches everything. And he
He
does get the yards after the
he
catch. It's
he
deceiving.
he is open all day, and I'm not even. I'm just saying. I'm just Cooper Cup, like I said, is awesome, and he deserved everything he got this year. But it
Yeah.
would be awesome to see Coop like you remember like the matchups that like I don't want to say back in the day because it dates me and makes me feel like I'm old. But remember when Revis would follow? Remember
Yeah.
when Revis would follow the number one, and it's like,
Mhm.
all right, mano y mano. All right, you go in the slot, I'm going to slot. You go outside, I go outside. You run to the left, I go over there. Like it would be awesome to see Cooper Cup like get that type of
Yeah.
attention and then kill it because I mean that's how when Revis did that um then we really got like if somebody killed Revis then we can really say oh shoot he ate on Revis and
Yeah.
stuff like that and so um I don't think I mean I can't remember Cooper Cup doing that. But I've seen Odell go up against um, a number one corner everywhere, inside and out. I've seen Devontae do that, and so yeah, when you say he's always, but when Cooper Cup gets asked to do something, I mean he masters it and he's going to do it. So I'm not taking anything um, away
I'm
from
with you
him
on it,
at
Prince. Just
all.
so you know, I'm with you. I think Devontae is still number one. I'm
All
shocked
right,
sometimes when Cooper Cup just finds ways to be open and making the big plays, that bomb that he caught or that handoff on that fourth down. And Stafford, give him the respect. I give that team the respect. And Odell was looking like he was at times he still has it. After all these injuries, he still does have it. But I think Devontae,
yeah,
I thought Diggs he had kind of a down year because there were so many weapons out there in Buffalo. But I thought he was kind of like the number one who was creeping up on the list last year, but then he kind of fell off a little because Buffalo's had too many options. And Gabe Davis was out there cutting people up too, which was
Mhm.
kind of shocking to me. At times, he looked like he was the better receiver out there in Buffalo. But it's an interesting league, man. Like every year, things change and your job gets tougher because you can't touch a wide receiver now. You can't
Yeah.
touch a quarterback. You can't touch a wide receiver. There's no fear out there anymore.
right,
Like you want to age me, I'm 39. There was times where Ronnie Lott or Atwater come through the middle, and it's like you don't want to grab the ball because you know you're about to get laid out, and that's no
right,
longer there. Like everybody can come over the middle. Yeah, someone might hit you dirty because that's who they are as a player, but now it's so tough because if you go to tackle someone and they go down, you hit them in the head and you can get tossed. But it's like you were going down and they went down with you. So
right.
it's super tough. You got the toughest job out there. I don't care what anybody says. Like I
Oh yeah.
played pickup ball after college. I didn't play in college. I played baseball and stuff like that. But trying to cover somebody when they know where the hell they're going and they're just as fast as you, if not faster than you, and you got a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers that can just throw it in the window, and you look like you're the bad guy
Right.
because you let up this touchdown. It's the toughest job, out there on the field because you're on watch all day, every day, and then you're also expected to catch these picks
Right.
and everything else. And it's crazy, man. It's a tough job, man. I give you all the credit in the world. I hope you get back out there, man. I hope you get on a team, a competitive team out there too, somewhere warm, hopefully. You still got it in my book, man.
Right.
Go out there and get it done. And Let me ask you one other question, and I'll let you go. What team do you root for? Like, you've been on a couple of different squads. You won a championship with the Giants. Do you have like a hometown team that you rooted for when you grew up, or you just kind of root for certain players like I do because I'm a fantasy player and I care about who's going to win me money more than my team at this point?
Sorry, I'm throwing up like it's a Nebraska black shirt thing. Someone said Huskers in the house.
That's right.
I will say this is so like for example, like I try not to hold grudges, right? I try not to be salty or petty or whatever. But I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like anytime a team cutted me, like I wanted them to go 0-17, 0-16,
100%.
like so. And so I don't know. I think with the Giants, I'm out of that window. Jacksonville, I'm out of that window. Um, Bears, I'm out of that window. Yeah, so I mean, so now I would say I'm neutral before. So I don't know if I was rooting for teams to win. I think I was more rooting for teams to lose
I like
back
that answer.
back then. But I like players. Like I think Aaron Rodgers. Oh man, I, I mean he's what 1A 1B like the best quarterback. 1A, 1B. I mean, it's but both 12s are up there.
Mhm.
But Aaron Rodgers is a guy that I root for, and then I have guys on other teams that I root for and stuff like that. And so, I
So
mean, it's so funny. It's
you're
like
just like
if
me,
I'm
man. You're just rooting for players over teams at this point. Because I don't like it's easier that way. You don't really get upset as much. Like the
right.
Jets lose, they lose all the time, man. Like I'm not gonna get upset about that living in New York. But like if my fantasy teams, I'll root against the guy who burned me like last week, like a specific player. Like I'm not playing this dude no more. Kind of like you're with teams that potentially let you go at times, man. So I love the honesty, man. I respect that,
Yeah.
and I hope to see you in the jersey sometime soon, man, and get back out there. Any thoughts about
Thank
any
you.
other leagues? If the NFL don't come calling, like with this USFL, like were you trying or no? That's a no. That's a no. I'm assuming, huh?
You know
Dude,
what?
listen.
Go ahead.
No, that's a legit question
All right,
because, like,
man.
if I truly love football,
Yeah,
if I truly love football and competition, and I just want to compete, I don't care what league it's in or whatever. Then, yeah, I get what you're saying. Like Prince, if it's like you don't know if itching in me to go out and just compete, put on pads
yeah.
and stuff like that. So, but to answer your question, absolutely not. Like I rather yeah, absolutely not.
No, I get
I
it,
mean,
man.
I
Yeah, yeah, I
rather
get it.
I rather go. Yeah, I'm not even gonna say nothing. Absolutely not.
Prince, I
But
got a follow-up question for you because we got this draft going on. It's going to be obviously going on, for the next few days. You've talked to some teams, at least, through some of their agents or what have you. You don't have to tell us the teams, but are there teams that you have your eye on during, let's say, this first round? By the way, Jets just got Gardner with the 4th overall pick, a cornerback out of LSU. But are there teams where you're like, hey man, I hope they don't draft a cornerback in this draft because you already know like that might be a good fit for Prince Mukamara?
um, no, not this draft, and not where I'm at, and no, not this draft. I mean, maybe a couple of teams. Um, I will say like Indy's one of them.
Hmm.
I mean, I saw that they signed Gilmore,
Hmm.
maybe a couple of weeks ago, but no, I mean, I'm not too worried. So
Speaking of
yeah, I'm not in
speaking of
that spot.
Gilmore, speaking of Gilmore, there's fans of yours in the chat that are saying we want you on New England, and then there was a different person who
Yeah,
said
the
we want you in
Patriots.
Minnesota. So I'm just saying,
Yeah, no,
fans want you
I
back.
saw that. Yeah,
All right,
yeah,
Indy's a
fair enough.
that's
great
good.
team,
That's
though,
good to
too, man.
hear.
That defense, Indy's defense, if they just had a quarterback, they got the best runner in the game. They probably got one of the best
Yeah,
linebackers in the game. That defense is legit, man. So that'd be a great spot. Great spot
yeah,
to
they're
land on,
solid.
man. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, Prince, man. Enjoy the rest of
Hey,
your day out there. Yeah, go for it.
last thing, Sia, you look like Pat O'Donnell. I played with him at the Bears punter. You guys should Google him and let me know if it's close.
We
Oh,
say
man.
Ricky Martin all the time, but maybe Pat O'Donnell's the guy.
I got to check out Pat
because of the
then.
hair.
Pat, is Pat a good
Yeah,
dude? You played with him, it sounds like.
he's a punter for the. Yeah, he's solid. Yeah, yeah. He's a punter for the Packers now. But yeah, let
Okay.
me know.
Nice. Good to know, Prince. He must be super handsome. That's basically what you're telling me. Pat's super handsome.
He's clean. He's clean.
Yeah, there we go.
Cleve,
That's
there
what
you
I'm
go.
talking
Cleve's
about.
a good look. Prince, I appreciate you, man. I'll see you in the NFL pretty soon. Whenever you make it back in there, man, me and C are going to make a trip out there and be at your first game, man, 100%.
100%.
So wherever it is, man, we'll be out there supporting you. And hope to see you out there soon, brother.
If not, September 7th, let's go.
Yo,
Oh,
let's
he
do that.
remembered.
100%.
He remembered.
I'm kidding.
Let's go.
We're gonna do our
All right.
our fantasy football draft out there, so you can draft a team with us and shit and hang out, man. So hopefully you're in the league by
Okay.
then, but if not, it's a good fallback option to come chill with us.
For sure.
All right, later, brother. Be good.
All right, Prince. Thank you.
All right. See you guys. Thank you.
That was fun.
Yeah.
See you, man.
What a great guy. So Jason, I know you're friends with Prince and you talk to him on a pretty routine basis, and I've seen him do stuff, him and Iggy did some interviews for Win Daily over the last year or two, but what a stand-up guy. Jason, when you meet a person and virtually, but when you meet a person, you just kind of know like 3 seconds in, like, oh, like this is a really good dude. I don't know how else to describe it like him in terms of his initial impression. So props to you for getting him on, but we got to have him back. I mean, we got to get him on our serious show on Saturday or Sunday night with you and me or you and Tony Cotillo. Great dude.
Yeah, 100% coming back. I love him. He's humble. He's sincere. He's honest. Even when he gave me that look, man, I love that look, man. It's just honesty. It's pure, and that's what we want, man. We want people to come on here and just talk their shit, man, and get out here and do their thing. And we got, a lot of guests coming in tonight, so we're gonna have some fun. See, you want to do a recap of some of these picks? I got the TV on here, but I can't hear it. So give us a breakdown what went on while we were talking to Prince. Any shockers so far? Any trades that we need to know about? Any big impact moves?
Yeah, no trades. I'm actually looking at the draft board right now. But I do want to update you on some basketball. It looks like the Philadelphia 76ers have moved on. They're up 22 on Toronto. I think that spread was like 1 or 1.5. So Tony Cotillo, who will be joining us at 9 o'clock for an hour or two, he's going to be really happy about that. And Phoenix is down to New Orleans by 10. So first pick overall was Trayvon Walker. Not a big surprise at all. In fact, I got a tip from a guy, his handle's at PropStars. I think if you're betting, you're probably following the Sharp app. You're probably following Win Daily Sports. But PropStars with a Z at the end is another guy to follow. And he put out a pick that this is like 3 days ago, that Trayvon Walker was going to be the number 1 pick. And I got that at plus 140. So I can thank PropStars for that. So I wasn't surprised about that. I think that was the conventional wisdom coming into like the last couple of days that it was going to be Trayvon. Aiden Hutchinson, who was supposed to be the first pick overall, at least in most people's minds, like as of like a week ago or so, he got drafted 2nd overall. Michigan product. He goes to the Detroit Lions. I guess that's kind of cool. Derek Stingley Jr. at number 3 by the Houston Texans. Our very own Tee Off Sports, who, by the way, lives in Vegas. And I'm not sure if he's coming on the show tonight because he's actually at the draft as we speak.
Oh, really?
He put out a play 2 days ago. You could have gotten Derek Stingley Jr. at plus 300 to be, I guess, I can't remember what the bet was, but whatever it was, he had it and he put it out on Twitter. He's such a good follow. So you got to follow him there. Not a surprise there. Ahmad Gardner, not a super big surprise, cornerback out of Cincinnati. And then it looks like Thibodeau from Oregon just got drafted by the New York Football Giants. So that means 2 things. One is the Giants get help on their defensive line. They really kind of need it on their offensive line more, but I understand this pick. Thibodeau is a guy that is super legit. But the more important thing, now that the Giants have picked, who's coming on with us in a few minutes?
Who's coming on?
Well, first of all, David Meltzer is going to come on. But while he's on, we actually might have somebody else pop in, and it's none other than Michael Raziel. Because
Meltzer's a little stuck in the airport trying to make it to the draft. So we might get him on a little bit later. He might not come on, unfortunately, but we'll get him back on either later on tonight or, on our show on Saturday and Sunday on Sirius. But yeah, a lot of defense early, man. These teams, I don't get it. In certain cases, you want to, grab the best player available. You got to fill needs, but sometimes you got to take some risk in these drafts too. But it looks like they're going safe so far. Defense, I guess, at certain points wins championships. Offense is important too. We've seen that the past couple of years. But interesting draft so far, Sia. Your team, your Washington Commanders. I got to remember this now. Who do you want for this team at this point? You have so many holes to fill. How do you want your holes to be addressed right now in the draft?
So I got to be honest with you. I don't think there are as many holes as everybody.
You have a wide receiver, or you have Scary Terry. You have one. Okay.
It depends how you perceive of, and we've got a couple people in the chat that are Washington fans. Oh, this is Andy Harrison. Sia is an elite kicker. He's been on my Instagram. Andy's a good friend of mine who's in one of my fantasy leagues based out of Richmond, Virginia. He's also a baseball coach, and a lot of his products have moved on to the major leagues and college baseball,
Nice.
And they are absolutely crushing it. My brother is in here. How about that? Abe Najab, thanks for joining us. Kayvon on Giants, he says. So the point is, we do have two receivers if you count Curtis Samuel. And then we have a host of young receivers that are very much unproven products. The problem with Curtis Samuel is he was injured all of last year, with the exception of a game here and a game there. So yes, we need another receiver. The question is, do you take another receiver with the next pick? I think the answer to that is no, actually, because I think the receiver class is relatively deep. I think you can take a chance and wait. I think there are some products that are really, really good, but I'd just rather help the defense. The defense kind of took a step back last year.
What's wrong with that defense? It was just great. Then it went to mediocre to bad. And from what I've seen, look, I'm not an NFL draft expert. I don't think anybody is, by the way, just to put it out there. I think
that's fair.
A lot of people are, they're educated draft people who give good facts and knowledge, but you're kind of trying to project out a career with, you have a sample size, but a lot of things change once you get a check and once you're playing with the big boys in the NFL, and, things don't go your way the first couple of years. So it's really hard to project out. But what I've noticed the past couple of years, these wide receivers who come out in these early rounds or middle rounds here, they're making an impact right away. If you got a need like that, Washington does, and I know wide receiver is, it is a deep wide receiver class. We're talking there can be 6, 7, 8 like studs coming out wide receiver. Why not grab one when you definitively need one? And your defense was just great 2 years ago, and it's like the same players out there.
So that's the argument. So if you are going to suggest, and it's not an incredible suggestion to say, okay, this Washington defense was really good 2 years ago and they weren't good last year. And by the way, they weren't good for a couple reasons. I think some people kind of fell back. The middle linebacker the linebacker that they drafted last year hasn't really worked out. I mean, again, he was a rookie, so let's see what happens with him. But also, they were really undisciplined on the edges. I actually think some of our better players just really didn't play well, didn't stay in their zones. And so I think that can be improved pretty easily. But nonetheless, we need a linebacker, we need a corner, and we need a safety. And I would just prefer to beef up the defense and take the chance that A, we can get a receiver later, and B, some of our younger receivers can actually come into form. So I don't think there's a wrong answer. So I think if they take a receiver, I'm not going to be like, well, that's just a terrible pick. I just think I would prefer something else.
No, I get you on that, man. It's tough to draft, man. You really don't know, there's so many wrong picks. Mm-hmm. I feel like there's, when you're talking about NFL drafts, and, I don't know how many actually guys get drafted throughout all the rounds. I don't know the official number and who's the last guy in, but like
200 and change.
Yeah, it's 200 and change, maybe 300 picks go in, but you're working against the odds because, maybe for quite some time. So, it's a really tough thing to do. And I would like to see the backside of some of this stuff. Like, we saw the movie Draft Day, but we never really see too much of, how you see the combine and you see how they run and their agility and all that, but you don't really see too much of the negotiations, the discussions that are happening. And I would love to see more of the release of all that. I also love to see, what's going on with Debo right now. Like, we haven't heard much about it over the past couple of days. That's a decision that's like, it's clear as day. Debo's amazing at football. He can go into any team right now and make a huge difference, whether he's going to be just a wide receiver or do some returning and some, some end arounds or whatever you want to call it at the wide receiver position. But like, that's what I want to hear, because that's proven commodity. You know what you're getting out of Debo, what's going on there, and where is he going, and who's making the right offers to get Debo, and who's like, no, I don't want to offer 2 draft picks, which most likely won't pan out to anything. I'm going to mess up the picks of the Jets anyways. So why not go get a proven commodity in Debo? So have you heard anything recently on Debo at this point, or is it still waiting for the draft to shake out?
So I think a lot of people think he's gone, but I actually don't. I haven't heard anything concrete, but I do think he's staying in San Francisco. I just know how much San Francisco brass really loves Debo Samuel and see him as sort of part of the identity of their team, kind of like that George Kittle mentality, George Kittle identity. So I actually have some friends that are somewhat closely tied to the San Francisco organization. They're not in the organization, but they're just tied to it in certain ways. And they're kind of split, but I think the conventional wisdom is that the Niners are going to figure it out. The problem is, it's really tough to play these guys on the outside and these running backs, because we know the influx of receivers that can come in. If you pay a guy whatever they're asking, 20 some million a year, you're really potentially setting your team back. If you have that plus a quarterback that's getting paid a lot, you're probably not going to win a Super Bowl unless you win it within a year or two window, because the salary cap is just going to work against you. The reason I highlighted Casey had a comment, is Carolina taking a QB here? They did not. They took a defensive tackle out of NC State, Ekwonu. But there's a lot of quarterbacks in this draft and if Meltzer comes on with us, we asked him about this on SiriusXM on Saturday night, Fantasy Sports Radio. There's not very good quarterbacks here. I'm really curious to see who reaches on this host of quarterbacks. There's like 3 or 4 that could potentially go in the first round. I don't think Malik Willis is going to be a good NFL quarterback. That's just my opinion. I've been wrong before. I also didn't think Justin Herbert was going to be a very good quarterback. But then again, I didn't think Jordan Love was going to be I'm right on some things and I'm wrong on some.
It's a tough job to project these guys out. I heard the rumors going to Pittsburgh.
I heard
they really like him, and that's where he's landing. But you never know, man. Like if you need a quarterback, you got to take some shots. If there's certain organizations out there, it's a calculated risk, man. You're not getting, the odds of you getting the next Aaron Rodgers or the odds of you getting the next Herbert are stacked against you. They're taking their best shots, and that's why you see so much defense come off, because defense is the one metric or the one position I feel like a defensive lineman that if you're big, strong, and fast, chances are you can rush the quarterback and do a good job and make your tackles. But there's a lot more that goes into these skilled positions where, there's, I don't know what it is, but there is a lot more, man. I don't want to get into all the nitty gritty of it, but there's a lot more going in, a lot more pressure when you're at the quarterback and all eyes are on you. And you can get shaken up pretty quick, especially sitting on the bench. That's a situation that, most people can't handle. They never really sat on the bench. They came out of high school, the number 1 touted guy, college, number 1 touted guy, Heisman Trophy candidates. And then boom, you're sitting behind a Mitch Trubisky for 3 years, or Blaine Gabbert, or whoever it is. And now you're like, who am I? I don't feel like I have the same confidence I had before. Or this guy's just a good quarterback. He's sitting behind Brady for 7 years. How does it feel to be a bench warmer when for the last 15, 20 years of your life, you were God's gift to your town, your college, your high school, and now you're sitting behind somebody? So that's why it's so tough to get these quarterbacks right, man.
Yeah, I think honestly, if you had some truth serum with some of these quarterbacks that are coming out, they'd probably like to hold a clipboard for a year or two. The expectation is that they're going to come in and impact right away, and that's what the coaches and GMs who kind of have to sell their pick by putting that pick on the field. But back in the day, your Steve Youngs, your Aaron Rodgers, they sat and learned. They sat and learned pre-snap, post-snap, like what's really going on here instead of being thrust in there. I honestly think if you took, let's say, the first round picks, if you took more than half of them fail, take all of them and sit them, all the ones that failed, and sit them behind the starting quarterback for like a year and a half or 2 years, and then put them in. I bet you at least half of them would be in the NFL, potentially starting at quarterback year to year, because it's just not fair for them to come from a college system, which might not even mirror a pro system, and just be like, hey, figure it out. You had the off season, you had a couple preseason games, not really, because you only played like 2 or 3 quarters. Figure it out on the fly. Like, that is a really bad method, but that's unfortunately where these guys are. We got Brian McLaurin here, which is great. He's back writing for us, right, Jason?
No, different Brian. You're thinking about a different Brian. Yeah.
That's right. Okay, sorry about that. Well, Brian has Ritter, Pickett, Willis. I would actually have it Pickett, Ritter, Willis, but I don't hate that. And then we got Casey in here. This is an interesting comment. Remember 2017 when everyone said it was a, quote, down year for QBs in the draft? And then Casey hits us with Mahomes at 10, Watson at 12. It's a good point, but I think you could look at Watson in college and have, like, Watson was pretty proven in college. Mahomes, not so much, but I mean, there isn't anybody that's even close to what Watson did. Forget about the championships, just like the stats and just how he played. There's nobody in this draft that's even close to Watson. I honestly think there's not going to be any starting quarterbacks in this class.
It's so hard to tell. See, I even remember when Mahomes came out, and then Alex Smith, had that great season, and they benched him for Mahomes. I was thinking, even that's crazy. But then Mahomes comes out, and then you see what he did. It's so tough to project out these quarterbacks, and I think these GMs and they're scared. They're definitely scared of making that decision and picking the next quarterback who flops and never makes it out on the field, or always really, really struggles. So there's a lot of teams out there that need a quarterback. If you don't get him, you're out for years, man. Like, the Jets have been without a quarterback for so long, and they went up there and grabbed Wilson. The Giants have been without a quarterback since Eli, and now what are they doing with Daniel Jones?
Was Eli a quarterback, though? I mean,
he's the only guy that took out Brady those years. Look, I watching. I'm not a Giants fan, but watching Eli, I don't know how he did it. Still to this day, I have no idea how he won championships, was a professional quarterback for all those years. You see him run around, but like, what is Daniel Jones at this point? What is Wilson? What is Trubisky? What is Baker Mayfield? Like, we still don't even know. And these guys have been in the league for this many years. And look at Sam Darnold, another one. Is he good?
No. Sam Darnold is not good. I mean, just period. He wasn't even good at USC. That's the funny thing. But guys like Colin Cowherd just talked him up so much, and he just got the press, and he had the USC logo on his helmet, and he just got thrust into a reality that just didn't belong to him. And we see that now. It's almost like it's unfortunate for him in a sense. I mean, yeah, he got drafted high. That's great. But he got this rep that he never actually deserved. And now he's having to live up to a rep that, again, he's not capable of living up to, in my opinion. And here we are. As far as Daniel Jones, before we bring in Michael Raziel, I was wrong about him coming on after the 5th pick, because, of course, the Giants have the 5th and the 7th overall pick. And they cleaned up at offensive line and defensive end. So can't wait to hear what Michael says about that. What the hell? Jason, let me just... Why do I need to finish my point? We never have Michael Raziel on our show anymore. Let's bring him on. You guys, I hope you know Michael Raziel. I hope you follow him. He does some top-notch interviews pretty much every day, basically. You can find him. Michael, how is it going?
Gentlemen, if you told me this was my draft a month ago, I might be the happiest person on planet Earth then. Can't really say I'm too angry. I also, we got to get it out there, guys. I had a 25-1 ticket on Trayvon Walker to go first overall. So
what?
Your boy just won 25.
You made $25, right?
Let's fucking go. $25. Let's go.
What a way to start the show, man. The one thing I get you on, the one thing I get most disappointed is your dollar bets hitting, and you hit one prior to coming on, man. You got to tell us to put a couple zeros behind these bets, man, when you get that inside information at Giants camp, wherever you get this information
from.
I
got him at plus 140. If you had told me at 25-1, I'd be kind of rich.
I think you would, because you guys would put actual money on it, which is always cool. But as you guys know, good friend of mine and also my cousin, Justin, the Jaguars fan, he said it immediately. And I couldn't find odds until it finally got out, and it was 25-1. I was like, we're each putting $1 on this. Let's go. And now we're both... Dude, I can go to like McDonald's and bring my wife. Like, I mean, come on. It's a good night.
You can almost get 2 Chipotles with guacamole. You can actually get one with guacamole and one without, and you're good.
I don't let her get guacamole, guys. Don't be ridiculous.
No, I totally get it.
Thank you. I'm not made of money here, Sia. Come on.
Mike,
Hey,
do we have a dollar bet on the Mets to win the World Series? Is that live in the Brazil household or no?
No, but I'm pretty disappointed in myself for not putting that on. So I appreciate. I'll check that in after I hop off the show. But thank you guys for having me. It's been a minute. Always nice to see both your beautiful faces. I apologize. I'm on my phone. I don't even have headphones. The one thing I ask everybody to do when they come on these things is wear headphones. I feel like an asshole there. But it's a pleasure to see you both. Excited to talk a little draft here.
Falcons drafted Drake London. I'm so happy about that because I did not want Washington to draft him in particular. By the way, I think Washington's going to trade back. How do we see more of you, Michael? How do we get more of you on our show? And also, after you finish answering that, what are you doing right now? You're still with Caesars. Tell us about that.
Yeah, Caesars is fantastic. Really enjoy myself there. How do you get more of me on the show? I don't know. Just ask me to come on more, I guess. That's pretty easy.
There we go.
You have some old fans in here. Casey, you remember Casey, the Cleveland fan? When we were doing our football show, he was always watching. He asked, no Masters koozie tonight. What's the deal? You're not drinking tonight? We're not important enough for you to have a beer with?
He's definitely drinking. Come on.
Come on. I mean, it's the draft, man. Like, come on.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah, no Masters koozie, so I do apologize about that. I'm not at my house. I'm at Justin's house because they were the first overall pick. The Jaguars were, so it's only right to attend the soiree this evening at his home.
And Justin is the guy that you watched 17 hours straight. Fast
18,
and Furious.
But who's counting?
What is it?
18 hours, but who's counting? Just me. I counted. Yes, we watched all the Fast and Furious movies. New Fast and Furious coming out 2023, so we'll do it again.
Did you see the flyer that we made for this show, the graphic? Do you know who's coming on potentially later on tonight?
Isn't Mr. Coat going to be here?
Mr. Chris Coat, otherwise known as Chris Coat T. And you calling him Chris Coat 3 years ago is the reason that you ended up having to do a grid of death punishment with your cousin who volunteered with you. So I don't know, man. When he comes on, maybe you can pop back on. But if you can't, it's way past your bedtime by the time he gets back.
Honestly,
it'll be like 9:45.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely going to be asleep by then, as you know. And I appreciate you remembering that about me because that's one of my, some people call it a flaw. I call it a feature, but.
Oh, this is interesting. I love these interesting. So Andy's always good for this. Interesting facts here. London went on an official to UVA for basketball. Bennett wanted him bad. Okay, so this guy's got serious hops. But serious hops, unless you're a tight end, it really worries me. You guys remember Josh Doxson? I think he was out of TCU. Washington drafted him with their first round pick like 10 years ago, and he just completely crashed and burned. That's sort of what I thought of with Drake London. It just didn't. I'm just not a big fan.
Here's a question. Why do the Falcons keep drafting offensive skill players if they don't have anything else on their team? Right? Like, am I the only one that says you build through the trenches? I know that's like an old school football guy thing.
DGS. Dave Gettleman syndrome.
Yes,
let's sign Kenny Golladay for $1 billion, then draft Kadarius Toney, and not fix our offensive line or our interior whatsoever. It's reprehensible, and it's like if I'm the owner of a team, most owners are pretty smart, like smart enough to know what a good and bad football decision is. I don't understand how guys like Dave Gettleman get licensed to do these things to their team. I don't mind because I'm a Washington fan, but I that Atlanta pick is like literally shocking to me. They could have traded down and probably gotten Drake London. And even if they didn't, they could have gotten like Olave or whoever, Garrett Wilson. There's so many receivers they could have got. Obviously they were in love with Drake London, but that's not the pick for that team. That's a luxury pick in my opinion.
And their defense is terrible. Mike, I was asking Sia before. I want to get your thoughts. Daniel Jones, right? So some quarterbacks out there, they're calling this draft a not so great quarterback class. Where are you at with Daniel Jones? Are you confident that you want to roll him out there for another year or two and see if he blossoms into something? Or have you seen enough of the tape where you want to move on from Daniel Jones as a Giants fan?
Daniel Jones sucks. I don't want any more Daniel Jones on my friggin' TV. I'm so
you want a quarterback right now? Like you want a quarterback later in this draft to hopefully change things?
Is perfect that Daniel Jones is our quarterback next year because that almost guarantees that we suck again. And the quarterbacks next year are actually like capable. So I think it's perfect. They got rid of his 5th-year option. He's not like they have the potential. If they franchise tag him, it's like a couple million different than what they would have if they just took that option. They can do one of those dumb like Blake Bortles like 3-year deals where after the 2nd year none of the money matters anymore. But I think just get rid of him. after this year, go out and get one of the real quarterbacks and see what happens. That's really all you can hope for at this point, because you've seen enough. You can't fumble that many times and have it be like, oh, it's not all your fault. It's like, no, you lead the league in fumbles from like 3 years, and you've missed like 7 or 8 games. Like, that's an absolutely ridiculous stat. I don't care how bad your offensive line is. That's a ridiculous stat. And then you have no production to back it up. Like, it's not like he's throwing fun interceptions. He's just bad.
So I have the obvious counter to that, though, and I want to ask you a follow-up question after this one, but he hasn't had the tools. Like, they keep giving him the wrong tools. He hasn't had an offensive line. He hasn't had much time. I just wonder if you get an extra second back there, or an extra 0.7 seconds back there, like, is it a different Daniel Jones potentially?
Potentially, but like, there's a lot of teams that don't have, like, Jared Goff didn't have a very good offensive line and had 0 tools last year and didn't lead the league in fumbles. Like, I mean, like, there's enough evidence of other guys having bad tools and bad offensive lines and not fumbling 18 times that I'm going to say that Daniel Jones is absolutely the exception to the rule of, hey, but what if he had another seconds? Like, no.
Okay. Okay. So let me ask you this then. Would you rather have Baker Mayfield today, starting week 1, or Daniel Jones? Because Andy pops in with Baker to NYG, which of course I think he's kidding, but I'm just asking.
Yeah, I'm not watching. So if something like that happens, please let me know, guys. But I don't know. I guess that's a good one. Like, at least, I mean, I don't know. They both suck. Like, I guess I'd take Baker only because all of last year he was like very badly hurt. So I don't know, maybe take a shot on him for a year, but I think he sucks too, and it doesn't matter. And all in for next year. Let's just start putting some pieces in place. That way, when you have a quarterback that's capable in 2 years, maybe some good things will happen.
Go ahead.
I'll ask you the easier question. Saquon, is he a fantasy relevant top end running back this year? You talk about not being healthy. You talk about not being on the field. He doesn't have fumble issues, but he's really struggled to be out there. Maybe he's not out there because the Giants suck so bad he doesn't even want to be out there, and they don't want to risk him at this point. But what's your thoughts on Saquon? I hear half of the camp saying he's got all the talent in the world. He's going to go out there and do stuff, and he's falling in drafts farther and farther. And I see the other side of the camp saying he's Mr. Glass. He's going to get hurt again, and this team is not going to really do much, and he's not going to be in a positive game script for a running back. So where are you at as a Giants fan in regards to Barkley?
I agree with the game script. Absolutely. Like, I don't care if we added a starting, edge rusher and a starting tackle this draft in the first 7 picks. Like, the defense is still not that great, and the offense is still not going to be very good. I mean, I can't say he's Mr. Glass because I like him, but like, yeah, dude always hurt. Like, what are you supposed to do at this point? Like, I mean, I know there's no such thing as like being more prone to injury, I guess. It's more like just media talk. But if you're always hurt, again, let's go back. Like, you're the one guy that's always hurt, lowest common denominator. It's you. Like, so that sucks. I would say, I mean, like, he has the capabilities, but like, I'm not drafting him in the 1st or 2nd round, probably. If he falls to the 3rd or 4th, I mean, yeah, dude had 2,000 all-purpose yards or all scrimmage yards his first year, however many touchdowns. But the thing is, like, go back to last year, him and Devontae Booker had the same number of yards. So, like, you can't say it was the offensive line. They had the same number of yards, like, almost exactly, like 100% exact number of yards. So, dude, like, I don't know. At that point, if Devontae Booker can get the same number of yards as you on less carries, it's clearly a you thing.
Yeah, running through in space, Barkley looked pretty good after a few weeks of him being on the field. But Booker seemed to be the way better north-south runner, which I think that makes sense. Barkley's never necessarily been that guy, but I hate seeing this. Even as a Washington fan, I hate seeing, like, especially at the running back position, if you get hurt under your rookie contract, like, okay, there's somebody else taking your spot. That's why running backs are so expendable. And that's why paying a guy like Ezekiel Elliott is such a joke, because you have other needs and you can fill the Zeke need with, I don't know, like Tony Pollard, for example, under his rookie contract, who you drafted, by the way, and he sits on the sideline. So we're talking a lot of NFC East. Give me how the NFC East finishes. This is the early pick, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th.
I would say probably Cowboys, probably Commies. Are we going with the Commies?
We can go Commies.
Commies.
Sure. Cold War.
The Cold War Commies. Yeah. Eagles, Giants.
I like it.
Is that what you're hoping for? Just because you want that pick, you want to secure that last pick? Giants can't get in front of the Commanders with no quarterback?
the
They're
common. But yeah,
their over under is 7, by the way. The Giants in Washington's is 7.5, but it's juiced to the over. So that could potentially, it won't click up to 8, but it could end up being like minus 130 over 7.5. So I like the under on 7 for the Giants. Michael, what say you with the 17 game season?
I would agree on the under 7. I think it's either a push or probably 6 wins. I mean, they won 4 games last year and they didn't score an offensive touchdown for like 3 or 4 straight weeks, which is just like miraculous. Like that's one of those coolest, worst stats you'll ever hear. Like they just didn't score. They ran a QB sneak on 3rd and 11. Like it's just like, what are we doing? So I mean, their offense was that bad and they still won 4 games. So I think they'll definitely win a couple more. But yeah, I would take the under 7, and I would just assume it's a push or a win. I don't see them winning 8 games. But I will say, really crossing my fingers, Brian Daboll just does literally anything compared to what Jason Garrett did last year and the last year before that. Literally anything, and I'll be a happy man.
It's such a bad, like, you just know certain moves are bad. Like, you sign a coach from like your bitter rival who sucked over there, never really amounts to anything positive for that team, and then you bring him on your squad. Like, how does it even feel bringing him into the organization locker room? Like, it's a failing recipe right there, and it's so easy to see from the outside. I don't know how they saw, a different story there, but sometimes I think it just, the Giants organization won, they won titles. Like, Sia doesn't know how. I really don't know how Eli did it. But I do think the Giants are,
I don't understand.
I wouldn't say they're a top tier organization because there's better, organization out there. They're always competitive. But the Giants have been pretty damn good from my lifetime, your lifetime, to get those championships through. Who do you rather be, a fan of the Giants, Jets, or the Bills? I'd have to say the Giants, even though they've been bad as of late. They get things together in a Maurer family. They make, for the most part, they're competitive each decade, not every single year, but they're competitive through the decade. So I think they might turn around a corner if they get a quarterback.
What I would say to that is, yeah, I wouldn't trade my fandom for anything in the world. Like, no, I freaking loved it. Those 2 Super Bowls. See you go watch them. I watch them every Super Bowl Sunday, both of them back to back, just to remember what it was like. So you can watch them. It's pretty incredible. That first one is ridiculous. If you haven't seen it in a while, literally they have all the plays. It's like 2.5 hours long. I watch them both back to back.
Do you really do that? Like, are you lying? Or you really do that?
No. Every single Super Bowl Sunday, I sit down on my couch while I'm making like buffalo chicken dip, and I watch both of those games, full games, back to back.
Really?
It's like commercial, so it's like 2 hours and 25 minutes. So it's like a solid like 5 hours, and then I just go to the Super Bowl party. So it usually works out. I do enjoy it. What I would say though is, so I'm 30 years old, just turned 30 in November, and the last 10 years of the Giants, they've had the worst record in the NFL. So I don't really remember like the first 7 years of my life. Like, I don't really count too much of that. So for 13 years of my life, the Giants were competitive. And for 10 years of my life, they were the worst team in the NFL. So I know you're like a couple years older than me, but I know you're not that much older than me, Jay. And I would say like, it's pretty bad, man. Like for the last 10 years, I know those 2 Super Bowl runs, I won't take anything away from them, but it's pitiful. It's been so bad for the last 10 years.
Mike, I've been asking people, and I'll sprinkle in some Mets losses. At what point in time, as we're Met fans, are we allowed to feel like a Red Sox fan or a Cubs fan? Because it's now been like, it's been your whole life. You've never seen a Mets championship. I'm starting to feel like kind of excited about the Mets right now, but I don't want to get overexcited. At what point can we feel like the Cubbies or the, some of these other organizations that haven't won it? Like, is it 40 years? That we can start crying? 50 years is a curse? What is it?
It's got to be over half a century. Like we still got time. I mean, 86. I mean, I don't know. I wasn't alive. Were you alive? I don't even know.
3 years old, man. I was 3 years old.
I don't want to talk about it.
Never mind. Wait, you're way older than I remember. All right, never mind. Whatever. But yeah, I guess the Giants haven't been bad your whole life. But yeah, no, I think we got a little while. And the Mets every year, the best team in April. So like, let's calm down.
Cool it down. All right.
I'm helpful, but guys, this was a pleasure. I always love coming to see both your beautiful faces. See it especially, you know that. But you guys are great. I love you both. I love everybody watching and listening. I miss everybody. I truly mean that. I miss all you guys so much. But I'm having fun at my new job, and they pay me a bunch of money, so like I'm not like that angry about it. But I appreciate you both. I'm gonna go watch the rest of the draft, and I hope you guys do the same. Tell Mr. Code I say hi, please.
Michael, we gotta see you more, okay? Make us
let me
that
know.
promise. All right.
I promise
All right,
you.
you're coming on more. We got
All
them.
right. Bye, everybody.
Later, Mike.
Get
Thank
out
you,
of
brother.
here. All right. We are bringing on Jeff Feinberg. Thank you for joining us. How's it going, man?
What is up, guys? Good times. Rather talk to you guys than the room of my friends are just a bunch of sad Raptors fans right now. So
they got absolutely smoked, right?
yeah, it was like a 1-point game at halftime, and if you had a five extra minute long smoke break, it was like a 14-point game right at the start of the third quarter. And I don't know, the season probably should have ended the other day, but the Sixers sort of toyed with the Raptor fan emotion, that's for sure.
Yeah, with no Fred out there, man. That's your leader on the court. Without him out there, it was tough sledding. But you guys put up a fight. Didn't go down like the Nets did. So, there's respect out to Toronto. Toronto battles, man. Good team, and they'll be back, man.
Yeah, no, I don't know. They got Scotty Barnes. Their GM is good. I don't really care much for the Raptors. I was even kind of annoyed that they were playing overlapping with the draft, but hanging out with the buddies, and they're all pretty hardcore. So now it's just a sad room.
So, Jeff, how did you become a Chargers fan? I almost said San Diego Chargers, by the way, which I assume that's when you became. I mean, you've been a fan for a long time, but how did you become a Chargers fan?
Yeah, definitely. San Diego in my heart forever. Still go back regularly. Oh, wow, we got a trade. Just simple. I live in Toronto, and they have no NFL team, and I didn't want to be a Bills fan. And I just had some family ties out in Southern California. So I'd go for Christmas break and end up seeing a Charger game. And then you're 10 years old and you realize the NFL, I like it more than hockey. And I have a stay out jersey and a hat that my grandfather got me. So that's my team. And that just started something I don't think anyone in my family was expecting, but it happened.
So, Jeff, I got to ask you a question. I saw Josh Allen post all the hate that he received when he was drafted by the Bills. They wanted the other Josh out there. They wanted Rosen out there. And when Herbert was drafted a couple years back, a lot of the Chargers fans didn't think Herbert should have went where he went. And now he comes out and he's probably, I can make an argument that he's the best quarterback in the league right now because what he's done on the field in the first couple of years is just, he's making throws at, guys have been in the league for 10 years. How did you feel, honestly, when they drafted Herbert? Did you feel like that was the right move? Because it's so hard to pick winners in a draft. It's near impossible. These professional experts and GMs, they get it wrong all the time. How did you feel as a fan drafting Herbert?
I was like, Tua had all the hype. He was built out to be this really special player. And I guess, I didn't think they would put it this way. I didn't think they would take Herbert just because they were forced into the pick. So I'm like, okay, they obviously really like Herbert. Yeah. And by the reaction to my internet feed that night, it wasn't a very popular pick. And look what has happened. It was I had kind of fallen in love with both Tua and Herbert for the most part, to be honest, as much as as one, I gotten, two anons come after me a few times. We'll leave it at that after the fact, and I don't want to start anything with them. We're in peace. Peace and love. But yeah, I don't know. I just bought into all the good, but I was nervous because I read the same stuff, watch the same guys, same mock drafts. Like, a lot of people made me really nervous about the Herbert pick. Like, the Chargers just drafted some flake that can't hit guys wide open on an 8-yard pass up the seam.
Guilty. I was that guy. I genuinely, it's not that I hated the pick, because I think taking a gamble on a quarterback is the play regardless, especially when you're weak at that position. So I understood the pick, but I just didn't think Justin Herbert was going to pan out. I'm not so sure I loved Tua, especially coming off the injury, but Herbert really, really surprised me. So here's my hot take, Jeff, about the Chargers. And sorry for making this so Chargers-centric, but I had this hot take with Jason on Fantasy Sports Radio last week and the week before, and I want to relay it to you. I want this to be out in media so that 6 months from now I can play it. Chargers win the division. Broncos get the wild card, a wild card. Kansas City Chiefs miss the playoffs. That's my hot take. What say you? Am I completely ridiculous or am I just a little bit ridiculous?
Things happen fast in the NFL, so I get like if the Chiefs like don't make the playoffs, like just as a football fan, I wouldn't be totally shocked, but I don't count them out. Mahomes, Reed, I still look at the trade that they made as an outstanding trade. It scares me as a rival of theirs that yes, it could backfire. They might never replace like Tyreek Hill, the player, and they probably don't like individually. But it gives me these vibes that it's a trade that like we could be here in 5 years. Like they could just reload everything and just redo it all again. I don't hate the theory. I'm flattered. I like that the Chargers. I agree with that, and I'm here for it. Like I'm done being bullied by the Chiefs. That much I know.
So the Chargers are plus 250. You like that or no to win the division, or is that just a stay away for you?
No, I think they're going to win the division. I think it's all going to finally fall into place. I fear Kansas City more than Denver, but that's just my opinion.
I agree on that. I think Russ hasn't been good the last couple of years, man. He has weapons out there. He had DK and Lockett, and he looks like nobody's really talking about it, but he's taking a step back in my perspective. Like DK should be top 10 receiver. And same thing with, Lockett should be top 15, and he's struggled the past couple of years. So I see a downfall. And if you can't win in Seattle with Carroll, and that was your home base for so long, I think he's going to struggle out in Denver. It's cold. Not that it was a great environment in Seattle, but I can see Russ struggle here. I know they just, they have a good defense. They got a running game there, and they got Sutton that everybody's going to think he's going to be a top 10 wide receiver now, but he's not proven either. So I think Denver is slightly overrated. Now, Jeff, who do you want them to take, in this draft? Is it defense? You can't, what's the spot that you think they need the biggest help to take that next leap forward to beat the Chiefs and, make a run in the playoffs?
It'll be interesting to see how it unfolds as the pick, draws closer. I think in a perfect world, they would draft an offensive lineman. They'd take a right tackle, pair him alongside Slater. It is a bit of a team need, but at the same time, I don't know that there will be a player worthy of that pick there. Mm-hmm. I also believe that they really do want corner more than people think they want a corner. I don't think they like their depth at corner. I don't think Staley trusts Michael Davis, whose rumors are to probably be his last year as a Charger. Again, they might have to reach. McDuffie probably gone. Will they reach for Elam? Which becomes, in my opinion, I think it's highly probable the best player on their board could be a wide receiver at 17. I don't know that they would make that pick, though. Something certainly interesting to follow. But with no, enormously glaring need, I'm just still watching to see how the board falls for them. But I think corner or wide receiver when it's all said and done here.
Yeah, I definitely also agree with the offensive line help. That certainly makes sense. And by the way, it was Washington who traded back, which I think I said they were going to do just a few minutes ago. Not that that's groundbreaking, but I think that was a smart play for Washington with their needs and there not being anybody, super high on their board, perhaps at 11, because they need help in a couple different places. So it's the Saints pick right now. Jeff, let me ask you, I was looking at your profile today. You're obviously big with the media, Mayo Media Network and Odds Checker, but there was something else, BetSperts, that was on there. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? That's a genuine question. I'm not sure I know what that is.
Yeah, so I guess just Tuesdays, 11 a.m., I'm chatting golf with the guys from BetSperts, talking outright bets and just sort of all things PGA Tour golf, usually with Ryan Noonan and someone else, but weekly at 11 a.m., I'm doing a show live with the guys over at BetSperts Golf. I enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. It's sort of like that time where most people have released their outright bet. So we just sort of feel out where, we just sort of discuss, how we're seeing the market and who's playing and because when I do my show with Pat Mayo on Mondays, I don't know if people realize, well, I guess by the time it comes out, they should. We're recording that like almost as early as we can on a Monday. And golf's this weird, like, you know how you feel on Monday about a football bet? It's like, oh, I love that team plus those points. But you get to like Thursday or Friday, like you feel totally different about that. Now, the golf, we have the Monday to Wednesday window, as you know, but it's just like, no, I don't know. Opinions, the board is unfolded. You don't want to be on the most popular players because there's never community wins.
Right.
You know, so yeah, 11 a.m. weekly, I'm chatting with the guys from BetSperts.
We're definitely going to have you, if you can, on the RPGA Draftcast Tuesday nights at 8 o'clock, one of these days coming up soon. I'm just curious, Mexico Open, just switching gears for a second, how you doing in that one? Were you on Team Rom or fade Team Rom?
I mean, I'm on Team Rom. I didn't bet on Rom, but every lineup I made, which wasn't a ton this week, and I live in Ontario, which has kind of got its own issues with DraftKings at the moment. So I sort of have to, you know, get some family friends out of New York State to do it for me. So I'm sort of limited in what I want to ask people to do. But yeah, I'm full Rom. You sort of got the vibe early. Like, I know golf is silly and he can start slow tomorrow and someone goes out and shoots a crazy round and all of a sudden he's many back. But for how tight it is and how many players are actually in it, at this point, I would be pretty surprised if he didn't win.
Yeah, I'd be having a good DFS week if I didn't fully fade Rom, because all my other guys are just fine. But I think I threw Rom in like a throwaway, like $10, you know, like random tournament lineup just for the heck of it. But yeah, I just couldn't bring myself to take him given the ownership, and the price wasn't bad, but he just hasn't been good enough for me to justify the play. But clearly he's playing amazingly.
Yeah, it's time, right? He doesn't have the actual win since the U.S. Open. He's hyper aware of that. These guys are all prideful. Losing is number one in the world. Any narrative that it wasn't, you know, a serious week for him was probably a ridiculous one. Like, it's okay to fade him. Like, that's golf. You know, you're trying to fade the super popular best player. That's part of game theory and game strategy. But it's the embarrassing, he's there to have vacations with the wife. Like, how many weeks do these guys play? These guys could be on like how many vacations a year? Like, they can go anywhere and they want. If he decides to tee it up, he's not on vacation. At least that's how I would see it.
So, Jeff, let me ask you something before I let you go, because this is the NFL draft. Oh, they didn't just. Oh, Kenny Pickett, is he in the green room? That actually surprises me. I didn't think he would be necessarily. Early Super Bowl pick, Jeff. Let's throw it out there on April 28th. Did you hear me?
Say that again?
Oh no, I said give me your early Super Bowl pick. AFC, NFC, not the winner, just who's in the Super Bowl this year. It's April 28th, 2022. Jeff's calling it.
Chargers and geez, I hate everyone from the NFC. Chargers, Bucks.
Oh, that makes sense. All right. It's going to be the Chargers and the Bucks. I actually don't think the Chargers is too out of control. I think it's probably the Bills' turn this year. But
yeah, you're right. Honestly, if I did be gun to my head, I'd probably pick the Bills, to be honest. But Chargers are too good now. So, like, sorry, they're not too good, but they're at a point where, like, they're low enough on the odds board where I can just pick them, and it's not a long shot or anything. So I got to just pick them.
Yeah, plus 1,600. Speaking of DraftKings, plus 1,600 on DraftKings. They made a lot of upgrades in the offseason that people really just aren't talking about because they're not like the flashy positions. But I think the Chargers are definitely for real. Jeff, thank you so much for coming on to the show, to our live NFL draft show. Maybe you'll stop by next year as well, and we'll definitely have you on the PGA Draftcast. It's awesome. But thank you for coming
let's do it. All the best, boys.
Awesome.
Nice meeting you, man. Pretty good, man.
See you, Jeff. Thanks
Later.
again. Oh, we got Jason. We got somebody else here. And by the way, again, thank you, Jeff Feinberg. He is such a busy man. He's doing all kinds of content, various sports, mainly golf these days, as far as I can tell. But you can find him pretty much everywhere. Anybody listening to this probably knows where to find Jeff Feinberg. But if you don't already follow him, definitely give him a follow. But speaking of guys to give a follow to, Jason, Do you know who's in our green room right now?
I'm not gonna let him in. I was kind of hoping the Sixers was losing, so he'd come in here all pissed off and angry, and I can get on him. But you beat the Raptors without Fred VanVleet, so I guess we can have Tony come on and kind of.
Yeah.
He's got his little hat on too. Look at him, man. He's got his 76ers hat on, but Eagles green to go with him, man. Congrats. You move into the second round, man. You made it to the second round of the Eastern Conference playoffs, man. I didn't watch any of the game because I've been here with Sia. How'd they look, man? They won by 20, or they're about to win by 30, I guess. They look good. Embiid's healthy. Like, I haven't watched him. How's he looking out there, man? I don't want you guys to lose based off an injury. I want full power, full steam ahead, and I want to see Embiid run. I like him a lot, man. I really do.
You sure? He's just not as your MVP, though, right? But no.
MVP. He's not the MVP. He's not the MVP.
See,
Stats don't lie, man. But
look, this is what happens. Like, I'm sitting in the green room. I left it, listening to Jeff, listening to you guys talk, and I'm like, look, the Eagles are going to trade up. They're going to trade with Houston. Tell me, they're going to make the deal. They're going to get Jameson Williams. Well, they traded with Houston, but Detroit jumped them and got Jameson Williams. But I know B's in there, and he wants Kyle Hamilton. I know he wants a safety out of Notre Dame. So they moved up for somebody, and it could be Hamilton. They got a guy in this draft. They bumped up 2 spots. So we'll see what happens here.
Tony, what do you want, though?
18.
At the end of the day, what do you want as an Eagles fan? I think that's the big question. Like, where do you need the most help?
Everywhere.
Honestly, that's what most teams say.
Everywhere. Listen, we don't have a quarterback identity. We don't have an offensive identity. We don't have a lot of identities right now. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, look, the whole offense, I agree with you, man. Like, and I'm not a hater of any team, and I'm just looking at it like unbiased. You're right. I couldn't even tell you who the running back is or who the best running back is on that team. It should be Miles Sanders, but it might not be. It really might not be. And then wide receiver, it should be Devontae, but is he ready to take that next leap? And is he good enough to be a number 1 in this league, long term? Tight end. I think you have a tight end. I think Goddard is your tight end. He's the only one that's like solidified in a role. And then that defense, it's trouble all around that defense too, man. So
that's the problem. Our biggest issue in the playoffs wasn't our offense; it was our defense. So, and you get a lot of aging veterans on that team. You got Fletcher Cox, who, again, I don't know how much he's got left. You got Brandon Graham coming off another Achilles injury, so that at 32, 33 years old, I think we were 31st in the league in sacks. So we got a problem up front, and we don't value linebackers. So let's get into that. We don't value linebackers in the Philadelphia Eagles. We haven't drafted a linebacker since Jeremiah Trotter out of Stephen F. Austin University, right?
Trotter was a great linebacker.
Stud. And then they let him go to Washington and get paid, and then they brought him back because we thought we were going to win with Levon Kirkland and Mark Semino and Barry Gardner and Quentin Caver. The list goes on and on and on. So, but Jason, we need a lot of help.
Tony, you know the good news, Stone?
Oh,
this is the good news about the Eagles. You're in such a shitty division full of losing teams that
I don't know.
You guys, you said the Eagles made the playoffs last year. Like, you had struggles in the playoffs. Like, my first thought was, did the Eagles really make the playoffs last year? Like, it was quite some time. Like, how did they make the playoffs? Because that division is so terrible. And the Cowboys got washed in the first round. They were supposed to be high and mighty. So they're not really a team that you're fearful of. This Commanders team, whatever their name is, can't be too scared of them. And the Giants suck too. So it's like, if you're just shooting for 500, you could be a playoff team in the East, right?
You listen, you can, but because I know I'm looking at some comments, and I know me and B are going to go back and forth, and we're finishing third with Hurts. I'm all in on Jalen Hurts. So I've been with Jalen Hurts from the beginning. Am I saying Jalen Hurts going to win a Super Bowl? No. Am I saying he's going to be an MVP? No. But Jesus Christ, Rex Grossman got to a Super Bowl, for Christ's sake. So Jalen Hurts, if he just develops how to read coverages, he will be okay. And he'll be a quarterback.
do you want to see more running from Hurts, or do you want to see him as a passer?
Listen, he's a pure runner.
Yeah.
Let's face it, right? So why are we? I never understood that. It's like taking Lamar Jackson and saying, "Don't run, Lamar. Don't run. Just throw." Right? Go to his strengths. Whether you like him or not, who cares?
What are you saving him for? Same thing with Lamar. Like, what are you saving him for? If he can run past everybody, let him run past everybody.
Jalen Hurts is not that fast. He can't run.
No, but Jalen Hurts doesn't get hurt. Like, he's tough. Like, he knows how to take a hit a little bit better than Lamar, I feel like. And he can still run for 10, 12-yard clips, man. I'll let the boy run, man. Like, especially if you don't really see that much of a future, like you're not going to invest a lot of money into him, let him run this year.
I agree.
Have some more design plays and let the dude run. It opens it up for him.
Always does. And listen, I know he's not Michael Vick, but he damn sure could be Steve McNair. And Steve McNair got a lot of hard yards, and he ran a lot. But it was concise. You know what I mean? It was calculated. It
5 yards.
Take off for 40, right? So that's
5.
what it is.
Yeah.
First of all, so this is what I love about Tony, because we were on Sirius, Jason, when you had to step out for your friend's wedding, and every single segment, somehow, some way, we ended up going to like a throwback player in the NBA or the NFL or Major League. We were talking, Jason, I don't know if you listened to the show on replay. Of course you did. It's such a compelling show. We were talking about Rafael Palmeiro. We were talking about Sean Kemp. We were talking about Larry
Johnson. You guys are
Johnson.
old. You guys connect to you guys connect to your oldness, man. That's what it is, man.
Educated. There's a certain depth to our knowledge that I think people appreciate, and I certainly appreciate it. So I just wanted to point that out. But just as far as the Jalen Hurts thing, as far as the reading coverages thing, is that something that actually develops? I mean, to an extent, I think it can, but I don't know. I mean, I've seen a lot of quarterbacks that just they didn't see it, and it was never to be seen by them in the future. So I'm not saying Jalen Hurts is not good, but it's just, to me, I don't think you can get away with being like, if he just does this one thing that would make him a remarkable quarterback, because there's only, I don't know, there's not a ton of quarterbacks that can make that leap, I guess is what I'm saying.
No, listen, I don't disagree. I think he's got two issues, right? He can't read coverages, and he doesn't have a lot of arm strength. So arm strength is not going to be, it's not going to grow anymore, right? So you have to deal with what you have. But coverages with technology that you have now, and the iPads on the bench, and the way you can basically dial it down and understand, I think he's a very smart guy. I think he can learn that. I do. I just, will his arm be good enough? And see it. Reading coverages, I think you can get, but the one thing you can't is your instinctual abilities, and his instincts. You got to be able to, feel that defensive end breathing down your neck. You got to know when to step up into the pocket. You got to know when to go out, and that's something he doesn't know yet either. So that's something I don't think can be taught as well.
I will say this about Jalen Hurts: if you are going to spend second-round pick equity on a quarterback or first-round pick, you got to give him a chance to grow in your system. And the one thing I hate is when a quarterback is terrible their rookie season, or maybe even like terrible and then like below average their second season, and they're a first round pick or an early second round pick, and it's like, all right, guess that project is over. Meanwhile, this kid is still 22 years old and has so much learning ahead of him. And because fan bases get fed up and because GMs are trying to save their jobs, they move on to another guy. So I do think Jalen Hurts deserves another year. I don't think he's going to be the quarterback for the Eagles next year, starting week 1. I mean, obviously, I think this year, that's not where I see it. But Tony, I'm asking almost everybody that comes on, because the NFC East has dominated the conversation. How does the NFC East finish this year?
Oh man, that's going to be a tough one. I know I heard you earlier in the season. You were talking about the Commanders, and I get it. Listen, I think you make a very good argument, and it's very easy in the NFC East to make any kind of compelling argument, because everybody's just kind of average, right? So I still think it's going to come down to the Eagles and the Cowboys. I honestly think it finishes exactly the way it finished this year. I finished Cowboys, Eagles, Commanders, Giants. The only thing I would say, and this is crazy, but I don't think the Eagles go below second or above second. But I think the only thing that could happen is the Commanders and the Cowboys could flip. That's the only thing I could see. But I still think the Eagles finish second, the Giants dead last, and I think it's going to be the Commanders or Cowboys at 1 and 3 respectively.
Yeah, I get it. I think you're probably right, but I do think Washington and Philly have a really good shot to actually win the NFC East. I know the odds don't suggest that, but I just don't think the Cowboys are the team that people think they are right now. Like we said on the radio the other day, I definitely think they're leaking a little bit more oil than people think. So we'll see. But as Jordan Davis goes off the board, defensive tackle from Georgia, goes to your Eagles.
That they talked about him all week, and I'll tell you what, man, better be careful. As that, he's one of these guys again that everybody falls in love with, but you know what? He came up small in some games, so better be careful. You better be careful. I don't know, man. I don't know about this pick, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it makes sense though for the Eagles to fill that need. Would you agree with that or no?
Listen, interior lineman, absolutely. But I think here's my issue. When you, and again, I know B's gonna love me for this, but when you have not had a guy in the back, and I'm speaking of a safety, for the longest time since Brian Dawkins, okay, you've been searching for a guy. I'm not saying Kyle Hamilton's going to be Brian Dawkins, but again, you need to build that secondary. Why we just drafted Milt Williams last year as an interior lineman. We signed Javon Hargrove, to a 3-year deal. We brought back Fletcher Cox. I mean, how many interior linemen do you have to get? You need a pass rush, and you need people in the secondary. So I honestly don't like this pick. I don't like it.
Yeah, and we have Andy in the chat, who is a fellow Washington Commanders fan, saying, speaking of Hamilton, please let Hamilton fall to 16 to Washington, which
I hear you.
Yeah, they swap picks with the New Orleans Saints here. So I wouldn't be shocked, by the way, if Washington trades back again. I'm just saying, that wouldn't totally shock me. I still think there's guys on the board that they can take, but I do agree that Washington needs something going on in the secondary. I think that's certainly a big need. Wow. By the way, everybody, go ahead.
Again, Howie. Again. Killing me, man.
Who is? Howie, you said.
Yeah, Howie. Just, I can't. I can't. This is what I don't understand. I don't understand. Really, I don't. I don't get this. I should have saw it coming because, like I said, every single person in Philadelphia was on this guy all week. Howie gloated about him. Sirianni talked about, everybody talked about this kid, and he kept booming up the draft board when we talked about the Eagles, and should have saw it coming. My question though is, so they moved up to 13. So I'm thinking, okay, who did they think was going to take him?
Right.
That's what I'm curious.
That's always the question. It reminds me, because we were talking to Michael Raziel earlier about the Giants, and if I recall, didn't the Giants trade up and give up a decent amount of draft equity to trade up and get Daniel Jones when they probably could have just stayed put and got him? So that, unless I'm remembering that incorrectly, but that's always the question. Was this guy so sought after that like you needed to make that move?
That's what I'm looking at. I'm trying to look at, and again, he's been compared to like a young stud Haloti Ngata, who obviously played in Baltimore. Yep. At Baltimore sitting at 14. They can use interior lineman help as well. So maybe they thought we need to jump Baltimore to get this guy, because if we sit at 15, we're not going to be able to get him. And in my opinion, I'd rather them sit at 15 and take Kyle Hamilton. So again, I don't know what they gave up. I didn't see the trade, but listen, they need a lot of holes. Like I said to Jason, there's just a lot of issues on the Philadelphia Eagles, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I just think that they could have picked. There was 2 or 3 guys above him, in my opinion, that should have went over.
So we don't have a single quarterback off the board, and we've got the Steelers that pick at 20. Do you think that's where Malik Willis goes?
It almost seems like that is the perfect scenario, doesn't it? It just seems like if anybody's going to take Malik Willis in the first round, it is going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, listen, they can't see. Can they really be hanging their hat on Mitchell Trubisky? Can they, right? They're not. Listen, Mike Tomlin, I love Mike. I'll tell you right now, not that we always gear conversations in different directions, but if you ask me right now, if I was an owner of the NFL and I said, you can pick any coach out of the NFL to lead your franchise, I'm picking my man. Now, dude, Well, oh, my crazy, bro. Like, how do I draw a blank right here? Mike Tomlin. I can't believe it just like completely slipped my tongue there. But I'm going Mike Tomlin every single day of the week. That's my guy. And I know he can't be looking at Mitch and going, yeah, we good.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
No way. So
No,
I definitely, Malik Willis, I definitely think he could be Pittsburgh bound.
Yeah. So the thing, it's so interesting because my thought is, and for the record, I always say this, especially when I'm talking about quarterbacks. I've been, right and wrong. I think when it comes to quarterbacks and being like flops or not, I've been right more than I've been wrong, but I've been wrong plenty. Okay. I was just talking to Jeff Feinberg about how I was wrong about Justin Herbert. I really didn't think he would flash that quickly and really flash at all like he did, especially that quickly. So, but I don't really see what people are seeing in Malik Willis. He's not accurate. The mechanics aren't good. He's not really like the true like runner that I think some people think he is. I'm just trying, and he got beat out by such mediocre quarterbacks, and some of that can be politics. So I'm not going to put that necessarily on Malik Willis in its entirety. But like guys like Bo Nix were beating out Malik Willis. Like again, that's just one piece of the narrative. I'm not going to say that happened, therefore Malik Willis isn't a good quarterback. But it just seems to me that there's nothing about him other than his character that I can point to and be like, this guy is a quote generational guy, or this guy is a starting quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, I think it's just because it's a premium position. I said that before. I mean, these guys, they could have one good trait about them. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's such a premium position that every team is scouring, for that next quarterback. I mean, we talked about it on Sirius, right? You got guys like Chase Daniel still stealing money in the NFL as a backup quarterback. So any chance that you can get a guy that just has the projection to be able to be a starter in this league, they're going to take the shot. And I think that's why he's so sexy of a pick to a lot of people.
I get it. I actually want to ask a gentleman from ESPN that same question. Mr. David Bierman joins the show. David, how are you?
Good. How are you guys doing? I just jumped in here. Hopefully you guys can hear me well, taking a little break from the draft to come say hello to you guys. Well, I didn't hear the question. What was the question?
So first of all, I want to know, where did you jump in from? Where are you?
I am currently right off the newsroom. I'll show you a little preview. I found the conference room. I couldn't figure out how to work the damn TVs because, COVID and everything. And it's only like the third time I've been back in 2 years. All the madness is taking place down there. Let's see if I
this tour is fantastic. Keep going.
All right. I'll show you where all the madness goes.
Oh, we're going to the war room here. I'm liking it.
This is fantastic.
Right. I'll give you a little bird's eye view of the war room.
So we're in Bristol. This is ESPN studio in Bristol, correct?
Correct.
Look at that.
David, that's super cool.
That's the main newsroom where all the stats information people are providing nuggets to the live broadcast that's going on right now out in Vegas, where they do have some researchers, as well as digital platforms, DraftCast. All the stuff you see on the DraftCast is coming right from that room. So we have a whole contingent. But here's the campus if you want to see it. I don't know if you can now.
Yeah, we can see it. Wow, that's really cool. Okay, yeah, absolutely.
So this is the main area. We even got a foosball table.
Yes, old school. No pool, no billiards.
There is billiards in a different room, not in this one.
Gotcha.
Who needs Xbox when you got foosball?
Nothing as annoying as the people playing ping pong while you're trying to work. But
yeah, but it's so fun. It's just like so addicting.
I've been back a handful of times for special events like the draft. The return to work just actually started last week. Mm-hmm. But I tell you, the people that I just showed you in that stats information room, that's more people than I've seen probably in the 2.5 years of COVID with work or without work. Like it was just good to see people again.
So David, I'll bring you back to the question that I was asking Tony before you got brought on. It was okay. So first of all, I am kind of impressed that no quarterback has been, in my opinion, quote, reached for. Some pretty good discipline, I think, from some of the GMs and some of the people making the decisions here. That's just my opinion. But I do see Pittsburgh has the 20th pick. They're coming up, and we know Malik Willis may be tied to Pittsburgh. My first question is, do you think that's where he's headed? And my second question is, do you think he's a starting NFL quarterback in the NFL?
I'll start with the first one. I think Pittsburgh would be the team that grabs him. And I don't know if you guys discussed this earlier, but this is the type of draft that people are surprised no quarterback is gone, although it's been a storyline throughout the months leading in. It's a combination of two things, and I'll get to the second one in a second. You don't have the greatest quarterback class of all time. We already know that. All due respect to Pickett and Willis, they're good, but they're not what we saw last year with generational talent like Trevor Lawrence, and the year before with Herbert and Tua and Joe Burrow. So you just don't have that level of talent. But on the other side of the fence, look at all of the moves that were made in the offseason for quarterbacks, whether it was Russell Wilson being traded, Aaron Rodgers coming back, Deshaun Watson going to Cleveland. You don't see that normally. So this year, instead of it being the draft where quarterbacks went and then the rest just filled in, we're actually had the offseason free agency and the trades go on. That doesn't leave a lot of teams with a lot of need at quarterback. Now, you always say you need a quarterback to be able to win. But look at the top of the board. At the top of the board are the same teams that are there every single year. Jacksonville doesn't need a quarterback. They just got one last year, allegedly. Detroit probably needs a quarterback, but they just traded for one. Houston does need one, but they didn't a few weeks ago. The Jets got one, the Giants, and these are all quarterbacks. Not sure they're franchise quarterbacks. I think Carolina was the first time you might have seen a quarterback, but with all the offensive linemen that fell, they couldn't pass that up. Plus, if you really wanted a quarterback, they could trade back into the first round and get one. As far as whether I think Malik Willis is going to be an NFL quarterback, I think he's better than some of the 32 quarterbacks that are currently starting. Is he as good as some of the rookies that we saw last year or the year before? Because think about it. You got Lawrence and Fields and Wilson and Tua and Herbert and Burrow. I don't think he's in that class, but I would start him over Drew Lock. Just throw that out there. I would go there. I would throw him out there before whoever Pittsburgh is going to start, whoever Seattle is going to start, whoever Carolina is going to start. I do think someone's going to get a good pick in him, and it might be Pittsburgh. But this is a simple fact, the fact that the same teams are at the top of the draft over and over and over again, and they need non-quarterbacks. Now, I'm not a fan of Danny Dimes. I'm not a fan of Zach Wilson. I wasn't when they got drafted, but that is the bed you made. Just like last year, the Dolphins weren't taking a quarterback because they got Tua the year before. People were giving up on him, but you can't. There's only so many Arizona Cardinals teams out there that are going to go, oh, forget about Rosen. We're going to go with Kyle Murray. It's a little different.
Yeah, and especially no, Jason, I was just going to say, Tony and I were just talking about, in my opinion, if you're going to put first or even second round equity into a quarterback, I feel like you almost have to, especially if you're going to start him right away, which I think is such a disservice to young quarterbacks. But if you're going to do that, I feel like you need to give them 2 to 3 years no matter what, because it's just not fair to throw a young quarterback who might not even be coming from a pro system in college and just feel like you learned through a couple games in preseason and through the offseason, you learned enough. We're going to throw you out there.
And I totally agree with that, which is why, even though I've been all team first Tua from the beginning, I haven't given up on him yet, because you got to give him the 3 years. And in every single situation is different. In his case, you had coming off the hip injury, you had COVID, you had no preseason camp, but everything has changed. And I don't think you can give up on a Daniel Jones right off the bat or a Zach Wilson right off the bat. And these teams, they may not have the quarterback that you want, but they did invest in a first round quarterback. So it's a supply and demand thing. And for so many years, these teams didn't have quarterbacks. And you look at the top of the board, and every single one of them has either traded for or drafted a quarterback in the last 3 years. And then you add to the fact that you just don't have good quarterbacks, despite how many times they're going to show you the green room on ESPN.
Yeah.
The guys aren't big time. I mean, if you had said Kenny Pickett's going to be the number 2 quarterback off the boards, 9 months ago, we would have laughed at you. He had a good season, and here he is, and he'll be drafted in the first round, probably. But he's not a top 10 quarterback. No.
See, what I was going to say real quick, it's like you're kind of losing your own job if you go draft a quarterback and then you admit you're wrong in a year or two and you go back and get him. It's a tough thing to do. Like, you're basically calling yourself out for making a bad pick. And sometimes it's a better move, but it's tough to make, like David said. Dave, I want to ask you one quick question.
Sure.
You're a Dolphins fan.
Yep.
You got one of the best weapons in the NFL side by side with one of the better weapons last year. How do you think that rolls out with Waddle and Tyreek, these little speedsters, And I'm not a big Tua guy, but I think that organization did what Tua needed. Get those guys that are just burners, because Tua can actually work with that, because he's not an Aaron Rodgers at this point in his career. So what's your feeling? And I was shocked to know that Tyreek was available, and then the Dolphins got him. So how did you feel as a Dolphins fan?
I mean, I'm ecstatic. I'm elated. I am as calm as can be tonight because I don't have to worry about whatever is going on in the draft. We got Tyreek Hill as our first round draft pick. I'm excited. In fact, it was supposed to be the Dolphins were supposed to have the 15th pick before they traded it to Philly, and then they got back to wherever San Francisco finished. But this would have been the Dolphins pick that just went to Houston through Philly, through the Dolphins. They're all 7,000 trades. But to answer your question, I woke up that morning, I got a text message from someone I trusted that said Dolphins are going to trade for Tyreek Hill. And I was like, okay, I'm not awake yet. I think I dreamt that. And then I started looking at Twitter. I'm like, oh, the Chiefs are going to trade Tyreek Hill. Oh, the Dolphins are Jet. Oh, what? Oh, excited, ecstatic, because you have a quarterback, like you just said, that isn't going to throw the ball 80 yards every single time. You don't need him to. You look at the offense last year, and they used Jalen Waddle to the best of their ability as a slot receiver who was a dink and dunk, whatever. But they needed more than that. Devontae Parker, when he was healthy, you saw how the offense grew with Tua. Once he was healthy, you had a dynamic like Hill. You had Gesicki, who is no longer going to be leaving as a free agent as they tagged him. And you have a couple of running backs that aren't, 4'2" Myles Gaskin, with all due respect. But, you had a mini guy at a running back. You add Mostert, you add a couple of other guys, and all of a sudden you have the fastest team in football. I mean, that's what you have. You have two of the top three fastest players in the league. And you look at, you don't know what Mike McDaniel is going to be as a head coach, but you know what he did in San Francisco with Deebo Samuel and some of the stuff they had there. I'm excited that they actually got him the help they need, Tua. Because after year one, I said, you can't grade it. No COVID, off-season surgery, didn't have any weapons. He had, me and Sa'i out there playing wide receiver. Like, you didn't give him a chance. He also didn't start at the beginning of the year. Last year, he got injured early. By the time they came back, the season was virtually over. They did make a run leap. But all the guy has done is win. Like, he has a better record than Josh Allen had. He had a better record than Kyler Murray and Russell Wilson. He has a good record, but you need to give him some weapons. And now, let's throw it out there. We're out of excuses. This is year 3.
Yeah.
You got a running backs, you got a tight end, and you got multiple receivers. Hopefully they have a good offense. And of course, all of you guys who whether you root for the Dolphins or not, will be, this is the year the Dolphin defense goes to crap because their offense is going to be good. It's just the way it works. But I'm confident and excited that with the weapons he has, it's the type of offense that I think Tua needs to be able to run. And again, he's not going to throw for 5,000 yards and 65 touchdowns. He's not Dan Marino. But if he can dink to Waddle, throw to Hill, Gaskin, running back, this and that, it's going to be exciting to watch because I've watched 20 years of boredom. So it'll be exciting to watch.
So, David, I have a follow-up question when it comes to no excuses, but can we confirm, we have somebody in the chat that said, oh, there we go. Is this true here?
Yep. Reported by Ian Rappaport just now. Right. The Eagles are trading for AJ Brown. The Titans get the 18th overall pick and more.
Wow. And Hollywood
Tone, first reaction. Tone, as a Philly fan,
I'm excited, bro.
First
Come on,
reaction,
man.
Listen, talking about they had no wide receivers.
No, they got Devontae Smith, but now you actually have a guy who's not a stiff like Jalen Reagor. You got a guy that can play. Right, so now you got Goddard, you got AJ Brown, and you got Devontae Smith. So
all you need is a quarterback.
Yeah,
you're good.
See, now you're hating on Jalen Hurts again, man. Come on, hate on Jalen. Look, give the man a little love, man.
So the Eagles, get the man. I'm getting this when you guys are getting it. If I'd been in the other room, I might have heard it. So the Eagles got their wide receiver. I know they wanted a wide receiver, so they went and got one and traded. Titans get the pick. So it was always the thought process that they would use their 3 number 1 picks to try to get a wide receiver, and they just did. So, okay, there we go.
Yeah. My hot take of Washington potentially taking down Dallas in the NFC East and finishing ahead of Philly is starting to really, really cool down. Dave, go ahead, David.
That NFC East, every single year, it's like a 4-way coin flip. Like, anybody can win that division at any given time, which is sad because the Cowboys are the most talented team, but at the end of the day, the Giants are getting better. The Eagles are getting better.
Washington they just picked Jahan Dotson. So they'll have Dotson and McLaurin with hopefully a healthy Curtis Samuel for Carson Wentz there. But David, my question for you was regards the AFC. You were talking about excuses when it comes to Tua. Like, I have an excuse for him. The AFC is completely loaded. Every single great free agent quarterback went to the AFC. A bunch of skill players stayed in the AFC. I mean, obviously we have AJ Brown leaving, but what do you do if you're the Dolphins? You have the Bills in your division. You have Deshaun Watson at Cleveland. You have Russell Wilson at Denver. What do you do?
I think it depends on what kind of result. If Tua goes out there and has a good season, the Dolphins win 10, 11 games, but don't make the playoffs because everybody in the AFC is awesome, then you're not blaming Tua. If the Dolphins go 8 and I'm trying to do the math because now there's 17 games. If the Dolphins go 8-9, used to be easy, and it's because Tua had a subpar year, well, then you have a problem. I think yes, you want to make the playoffs. That's ultimately the goal. They have enough talent to make the playoffs. They almost made it last year with far less talent and a different coach. I think it depends on why. If legitimately, and this could happen, the Dolphins could have 11 wins next year and miss the playoffs. That's how good the AFC is. But as long as it's not his fault. Maybe it's the defense that finally, whatever, didn't do well. Maybe they lost a couple of close games and it wasn't their year. The ball didn't go their way where they lost 3 games on last-second field goals. If it's because they're throwing interceptions because Tua's not driving the team down the field and he has no fourth-quarter comebacks and his TD to turnover ratio is awful, then yeah, you have a problem. But I do agree with you that the AFC is stacked. I mean, the AFC West might be the best division in the history of football. Like when you look at what they have between the Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos making the trade for Russell Wilson and the Raiders making their trades. So you're stacked across the board. I do think that the Bills are going to win the AFC East, which leads you to one of the wild card spots, which, to be honest, has been the Dolphins story for the last 20 years. Just reverse Buffalo to New England. The Dolphins are fighting for a 5 or 6 seed every single year. Now you have the 7 seed. I do think that they're talented enough to make the playoffs, but at the end of the day, is anybody going to be surprised if 2 AFC West teams and New England are the 3 wild cards? Of course not. You got to start in your division. You got to at least compete. And I think the measuring stick for the Dolphins isn't necessarily what seed they wind up, but have you closed the gap on Buffalo? Let's call it what it is. They swept New England last year. They swept the Jets again last year. They didn't make the playoffs, and New England did, but at least the Dolphins know that they were good enough to beat New England twice, and they got blown out by Buffalo twice. And they got blown out by Buffalo twice the year before and the year before that. So they need to close the gap on Buffalo. You can't have a situation where the 2 games that the Dolphins have versus the number 1 team in the division are blowouts, and you're nowhere close to competing because we all know the tiebreakers are broken within the division first. So if you're in that tie and you blow it because you can't beat Buffalo, I think you got to be competitive. I'm not saying you have to win the division, but if you're competitive with Buffalo, you stand a good chance of getting a wild card.
It just seems so unfair as a Dolphins fan that you finally got rid of Tom Brady, and then here comes this, like, basically what I think is kind of a super team with Josh Allen and his weapons, Stephon Diggs, and their wide receiver 2, 3s are pretty talented guys as well, as we saw in the playoffs. I just, like, for me as a Washington fan, it's, nobody's really been dominant, even when Washington's been down over the last 25, 30 years. So it's really Washington's fault. In Miami's case, I don't know at this point that it's your fault anymore.
It's not our fault that Buffalo has risen to replace New England, and freaking Patriots took 1 year off and then turn around and make the playoffs the next year without Tom Brady. Patriots football, I live in this area, so that's all I hear all day. But you're right. It is unfortunate, but that's, somebody asked me about 3 years ago, what will it take for the Dolphins to make the playoffs again? And my answer wasn't quarterback. It wasn't defense. It wasn't coach. It was, can you trade the team to a different division? Can you do realignment? Can you put us in the AFC South with teams that are actually close by? I get the rivalries. Trust me, I live up here now after spending my entire first half of my life in Miami with the Jets and the Patriots and the Bills, and the heyday of the Bills being good, the Patriots showing up every once in a while, and the Jets being the Jets. So now I live it up here. But would I be mad if they were playing, I don't know, Jacksonville twice a year, Houston twice a year? And it's easy for me to go to Foxborough in the Meadowlands, but I do want wins. It is what it is. Buffalo's a good team. They've drafted well. They've signed free agents well. The GM and the coach are really, really good. But at least you have something to strive for. For years, it was New England, and you're right. It's unfair that now it's Buffalo. But with this day and age in the NFL, that thing switches fast. You're never going to see a 20-year dynasty like the Patriots ever again. And as much as we despise the Patriots, you got to tip your cap to what they did over 20 years. And they're not done, unfortunately. It seems to be the snake that you can just cut off one leg and something else pops up. But hopefully Buffalo's reign won't be as long as it looks like it's going to be.
Dave, I have one more question for you. You jumped the gun on it about Brady. You know, I grew up in New York and have a lot of Jet fans around me, and I'm kind of a semi-Jet fan. I'm more of a fantasy fan than anything else. When you guys heard about the Brady retirement at ESPN, and as a Dolphins fan, you had some probable hatred against Brady as Jet fans do around here. And then when you heard he came back, what was your reaction? And then how much longer does he got? Did this coming back buy him 1 year with his wife and family, or do you see 2? Because he came out and said today 50 is possible. What's your thoughts on Brady moving forward?
It was a very, very exciting day when he announced his retirement in my household. Very exciting because I have a 7-year-old about to be an 8-year-old kid who's coming around to watching games with me, and he went to the Dolphins-Jets game with me last year. And I always said, by the time my kid grows old enough to understand football, I want Brady and Belichick to be gone. Yeah. And I sort of got that in this area where Brady left. He left New England, but he's not gone. He goes and wins another freaking Super Bowl. My son knows who Tom Brady is. It was my hope that he wouldn't. As far as the day he came back, I'll tell you a quick story. It was Selection Sunday, as you guys know well. Mm-hmm. I've been around here now 17 years, so I kind of have Selection Sunday on cruise control. I know what we need to do. And now in the betting world, I know what it means and had everything in place, and was finally, because last year we had some personnel issues, COVID and everything, so I covered Selection Sunday. And years ago when I was in a different job here, I was working Selection Sunday. So I was very much looking forward to a nice, relaxing night with the family of watching Selection Sunday, maybe putting a movie up, get some popcorn. You know, I knew the Gators weren't going to be in the tournament where I went to school, but it's okay. I'll watch the bracket and then I'll have a nice, relaxing afternoon as everything is set and situated. And then Tom Brady announced he was coming back. And what that has to do in the betting community in terms of the Bucks odds and this and that ruined my entire night. I literally got the alert a little bit ahead of when the massive news went out, and I turned to my wife, and I'm not going to say exactly what I said on air, but she could tell by the look on my face, and that's why my wife is an angel. You know, she's literally a saint. At that moment, she's like, "All right, kids, I'll handle baths. Leave Daddy alone. He's got to work. He's probably going to be very angry. Let's go do bath night." And at that point, my wife just took over and said, "I got the kids. You go worry about work." And I sat there on my computer and just cursed Tom Brady up and down until I just he had to do it on Selection Sunday too. Yep. How much longer does he have? I firmly believe that my 7-year-old kid will have kids that'll be watching Tom Brady.
There you go.
I know his contract's up at the end of this year, but what we're going to have with Tom Brady, and we've all lived it. We all live the Brett Favre nonsense. We're going to live that every single year until he decides to give it up. All this family crap, throw it out the window. Like, it's the same thing with Urban Meyer. When Urban Meyer retired because of health reasons, wanted to be with his family, I legit was on the phone with Urban Meyer going over a SportsCenter hit from his kid's Little League game. He was so excited to be coaching first base. Never better. And then the next day he took the job in Columbus. So, like, Brady can talk about wanting to be with his family all he wants. At the end of the day, he's a competitor. He wants to be on the field. He misses his teammates. I don't know what went behind the scenes, if he thought he was going somewhere else, but is it a coincidence that Bruce Arians was gone 2 weeks later? Conspiracy theories out there. But he's going to be there as long as Brady wants to be there. And I can tell you the only thing that's going to stop him, and I'm not rooting for it, I don't want you to think I'm an evil person, is another injury. Like, the guy's had one injury his entire career, and that was the only time the Dolphins won the division. But that's the only thing, because the next one's the last one. If Brady tears his ACL in week 4 next year, it's over. He's not coming back from that. But as long as the bionic man continues to avoid disaster, he may very well play until we're all into our 50s.
So, speaking of conspiracy theories, obviously there's one that's very, very much tied to the Dolphins and hasn't gone away. I don't know if you want to speak to that, but what I did want to ask you because you're so immersed in the betting content, have you looked at any futures or over under win totals or anything like that? Because I looked at the Dolphins 9, that looked pretty good in terms of the over. Anything there?
To be honest, we have them. The win totals have been out for a couple of weeks. We're going to do a big, huge thing around it after the draft and the schedule release. So that is coming. Shameless plug on ESPN.com and ESPN. We're going to be doing a lot of stuff on win totals about May 17th. So look for it then.
Awesome.
Truthfully, true transparency, I usually wait until after the schedule's out.
Mm-hmm.
I like to look and see where the games are. Obviously, we know the games, but in what order they are. But I did look at the Dolphins 9. But what are you comparing it to? What the opponent list is? It's very tough for me to try to figure out over unders without actually seeing a schedule. Yeah, I know they play the AFC East. I know they play this. I know they play that. And you can chalk it up and figure it out. But the draft hasn't happened yet, and the schedule's technically not out yet, even though we know it's on it. That's when I dial in. So the schedule's going to be out in a couple of weeks, and a week later we'll do win totals. And I can tell you, based on looking at futures, anybody who hopped on Green Bay before Rodgers announced he was coming back got a good price there because those odds got short. If you played the market and took a stab at Denver before Russell Wilson trade happened, you weren't getting the greatest odds because people expected them to do something. There's a good price there. I'm not buying the Browns. I'm sorry, Deshaun Watson fans. The Browns are still the Browns, and a guy who hasn't thrown a football in over a year, I'm not giving them the Lombardi Trophy just yet. I know they're the favorite to win the division. I'm not buying it. You can get a good price on anybody in AFC. Like it's stacked. Anybody can win it. I see no reason why the Rams couldn't do it again in the NFC. The Bucks, as long as the Bionic Man is there, is always going to be good. But I think, I just saw a note from David Purdom that said the Eagles are 50-1 to win the Super Bowl. I don't think the Eagles will win it, but 51's not a bad price for a team that just got AJ Brown. So
in the NFC, no less. So
correct.
Yeah, I think that's a good number. So David, before I actually let you go, I didn't really let you respond to the conspiracy theory as it relates to Tom Brady and the Dolphins. Do you want to comment at all on that?
I would say let the chips fall where they lie, and I'm sure there's a lot of things we don't know that went beyond the scenes. I can tell you before he came back, all the rumors that he was going to go play in Florida, I said, I don't want to hear any of that crap. Like, he's retired, let him be. He's back. He's a Tampa Bay Buck. The coach is no longer there for whatever reason. Is he going to be a part owner? I don't know what happens with the current Dolphins owner and the whole threat to lose and pay to lose, how that shakes down, and if the second owner takes over, he likes Brady, blah, 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 blah. My answer that I gave people a couple of weeks ago when asked was, if you were to tell me that Tom Brady will deliver a Super Bowl to Miami, then sure, sign me up. I'll go ahead and make the deal with the devil as we speak. But unless you can't guarantee me that, I honestly want nothing to do with it. Like, you can't spend your entire life hating somebody and then fall in love with them. Like, I had enough trouble, and you throw back 20 years when I was in college, standing at the Purple Porpoise in Gainesville, watching Jay Fiedler hand the ball off to Thurman Thomas. Like, that made me ill. After my entire childhood of hating Thurman Thomas, to see him in aqua and orange, I legit closed my eyes every time Thurman Thomas had the ball. I couldn't do it. It would be hard. It would be hard to stomach them giving up on Tua to go for Tom Brady, although it would make all the sense in the world. I'm not going to lie. It would make all the sense in the world. But you know what would happen, guys? Come on. The Dolphins get Tom Brady.
Get hurt. First play. First snap, pick six, get hurt. First play, pick six, get hurt. And Tua goes down and lives.
It would be preseason. He'd get hit by a car or something. Like, it wouldn't even make it to the first game.
Dave, let me ask you one last question before I let you go, too. Deebo Samuel, where do you think he lands if you had to take a guess at this point?
I was going to say the Eagles, but that just went out the window. It's not the Jets. I think that was a smokescreen. As you saw, they just went and got a wide receiver. I don't know. A lot of wide receivers are coming off the board. I actually don't think he goes anywhere. I think he stays in San Francisco and figures it out. I just think it's a money play. He wants money, and he's too valuable to trade at this point. So I think they keep him. I said that about Aaron Rodgers all year, and I was right. And I said that about Deshaun Watson all year, and I was right that he wouldn't leave Houston. So I think Deebo stays. That's final answer.
David, you're right about a lot, which is why everybody should be following you at
you.
D Bierman, at D Bierman ESPN. Love your betting content. Love your opinions on all this stuff. You're so well informed. You're so tied in, and you even gave us a tour of the ESPN studio, which honestly, I got to tell you, is pretty freaking cool. So we appreciate that.
Absolutely. Maybe next time I'm on, we'll actually go to down the other side where they're not on right now. They're in Vegas. The studios itself are Sports Center and everything, but that's a much larger walk. So.
That's what I'm talking about. All right. We got a reservation for that next time you're on. David, thank you so much for joining us and have a good rest of your draft.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
enjoy and good luck. See you guys.
Thanks,
See you,
man.
David.
See, just so you know, man, one thing that like bucket list got lucky to do, my friend he went to Adam Schefter charity event, won the blind auction. It was to go to the campus during the fantasy football marathon. And so we got to walk around the whole campus, so got to meet everybody who was there. And one thing I'll tell you, and they were doing the live, they were fantasy football, that 24-hour marathon that they do every year now. And you would never, like you I don't want to blow up your spot, but you were on a commercial today, right? And you said it was so nerve-wracking this. These guys are in sandals. Like they're throwing footballs around. They're so laid back and cool. And they were on like this crazy, I've been on air for 8 hours, joking around. Caliendo was there. And like they're all there. Like it was just like more calm than me and you and Tony talking right now. It's like second nature. They're just freestyling, cool, joking around with each other. It was crazy to see. And they were coming like in between commercials, come talk to us. Like, shouldn't you be focused right now and like not even waste your time with some nobodies who are just here for a charity event? Like it was shocking, but really cool to go down there, man. The place is massive. Like it's so big. Like it's just crazy to see. So if you guys ever have the opportunity to come up on the East Coast and check it out, it's really cool, man.
Say it's the best job in the world, right? Best job in the world. We got more breaking news, man.
What do we got?
I got to throw this up there. Well, again, we're going to turn this to the New York guys. We're going to turn this into a Philly show because right away I'm going to throw my man Howie up on the screen here. Okay, so here's the deal. This was a pre-calculated move. Eagles agreed to a 4-year, $100 million contract, $57 million guaranteed to AJ Brown. So you don't tell me they just whipped that out. That was pre-calculated. This was going on for weeks, man. Crazy. I mean, this actually not because of the Eagles, but it's turning a little exciting. And see it. We got the Steelers on the board right now, so we'll see what happens.
The pick is in.
This is what I like about certain organizations and what I don't like about other organizations. So you go out there and get a quarterback, right? And then you put nothing around him, and then the quarterback sucks, and you wonder why he sucks. If you go out there and get a quarterback, you got to give him weapons and then see if he's good or bad. Yep. And by going out there and grabbing AJ, now you can see if he's good or bad. And then you make the next move based on that. Smart move, man. Pay the guy. I'm not here to manage other people's money or these contracts. It's a great move, man. It's really a great move for the team, man.
And I went from hating the first pick to loving the Eagles again with that. So we'll see.
It's a good day for you. The Phillies won today, right? The Phillies
Sixers
won
close
today.
out.
The Sixers close out, and you get AJ Brown. And I know Ghost loves AJ Brown, so he's gonna be happy for you too, man.
I know. I'm a big. I like it. I'm a big AJ Brown guy. So, listen, I'm happy right now. Hey, listen. You said building around a quarterback, right? So this is kind of, hey, Jalen, here you go. This is your year, right? This is the third year. You get the opportunity. Go show us what you got. No excuses now. So it's going to be interesting.
I'm curious if you have AJ Brown on your dynasty team. Are you? And I'm not saying like this. This is a real question.
Yeah.
Would you rather him with the Eagles and Jalen Hurts or with Ryan Tannehill in Tennessee?
Tannehill sucks, man. I think Tannehill sucks.
But what
he
happened?
Feeds AJ Brown. When AJ Brown's healthy, he feeds him.
Yeah, I mean that's a tough question. See, because the biggest knock on Jalen Hurts was the deep ball, right? So there was a lot of times that he couldn't get it down or he didn't have space. So I don't know. I'd probably hope he was with Tannehill. I mean, how crazy that sounds, but with a healthy Tannehill, we probably would have put up better numbers.
Thinking about it this way too, I don't know what the Eagles are going to do, man, but Henry's like the first option, the second option, and the third option in Tennessee. So he might get more looks overall just being in an offense. But I guess he's a downgraded quarterback right now, but it really comes down to systems here. Like, what system are they
True.
trying to put in? But I think AJ Brown is good for Devontae. Like, Devontae gets the biggest bump here where he gets some things open. The Steelers do not take Willis; they take Pickett.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Like
Okay.
all these smoke screens, man. It just
I said it. Okay, on
pit's a pit.
the Sirius show Saturday with Tony, I think that's when I said it that Kenny Pickett is the best quarterback in this league and he should be going first. I didn't think it was going to actually happen, but I think Kenny Pickett's a good quarterback. I genuinely do.
I agree.
And we had a guest on earlier that said, he only had the 1 year sample size where he actually flashed. I mean, you could say the same about Joe Burrow. I mean, there's plenty of quarterbacks that matured their last season in college. I loved Kenny Pickett. I wanted Washington to get him. I knew we weren't getting him, so I kind of got off of that. But he looks so poised in the pocket. He can run. I don't know. I like.
He's got to feel comfortable too. Like he just played in Pitt. Like so, he's literally going down the block to start playing. Like that's got to be something. Like he's really comfortable with the town. He's comfortable with everything there. Like Pitt's college and Tone, they're right. Like I've been to the Steelers. I've been to Heinz Field. Like they're literally like blocks away from each other, right?
Heinz Field and what?
Pittsburgh. Like the college that he went to. He went to Pitt, right? Like they're literally down the block.
I'm not a Pittsburgh guy. I have no idea.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure. I went to the Steelers game when they beat up on the Jets in the AFC Championship. And I'm pretty sure like they're within like 2 miles, 3 miles of each other. So he knows the town. He's already the talk of the town. So he's got to go in there confidently. Do you think he starts week 1 over Trubisky?
No.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think Tomlin will do that to him. I think, or to Trubisky for that matter. I actually wouldn't mind if he sits an entire year. We'll see. I mean, we'll see how Trubisky does. I think Trubisky's a little bit better than people think. I mean, we should bring on Mike. We should bring on Mike North to talk about that because he certainly believes the same thing. But long story short, I think Pickett might make his mark the following season. I don't think he plays too much in this one.
I agree. I think they knew all along they were going to scout a quarterback in this draft. So bringing Trubisky, they knew he was going to be a stopgap for that year, and then like you said, I would like to see Pickett sit all year. What's up?
They're already talking about his hands. I just love how like it's hands. Like okay, the guy has small hands. Now they're gonna talk about it, and then like if he's bad, like the next 5 years and his career sucks, it was the hands, and if he's good, they're gonna laugh at this right now for like the next 20 years. Oh, you made fun of my hands, but I went out there and I turned into an MVP quarterback in 5 years. That's what I hate about the draft, man. Like it's just like whatever you can criticize, you criticize. Whatever you can highlight, you can highlight. And then when they get in the NFL, it's like a total different story. In most cases, like 90% of the time. Nuts.
And the thing is, it's like, okay, what were they saying about Kyler Murray when he was drafted? The guy is almost 6 inches shorter than Kenny Pickett. Like that is a much bigger deal to be able to see over your offensive lineman than Kenny Pickett having slightly small hands. So it's just, to be honest with you, the reason Pittsburgh probably got Kenny Pickett was because of that narrative. I genuinely think like we have to understand these GMs and these owners and the people that are making the decisions. They're like human beings, just like they're people just like us who almost like refs in a basketball game who get sort of swayed by the crowd and like the home court advantage really is there, especially like in the NBA or college basketball. I think the same effect. I mean, it's pervasive across all sports, across like society in general. And these GMs don't want to be the guy who drafted the guy with the slightly small. So instead of a team trading up to get Pickett, maybe at like 10 or 8 or 12, Pittsburgh gets him because everybody is doing let's grab football and compare it to Kenny Pickett thing.
What these idiots also do though too, like I think it's funny, I see it more now than ever, is like you make one good highlight throw in shorts and a t-shirt and you throw the ball like 65 yards and hit somebody in a practice. And now, like, you're the best quarterback in the draft, too. Like, one throw, it goes on social media. Like, Wilson did it last year. Somebody else did it a couple years ago. I think Willis did it this year. It's like,
yes,
he's a good quarterback now. Like, what?
Meanwhile,
this means absolutely nothing.
Meanwhile, watch him on a 12-yard out. Yeah, it's like, no, that's not going to work out.
Yeah, it'll be a McNabb throw.
Exactly. Actually, that's a really great comp. Hey guys, it looks like we might have somebody here. What do you think? Should we bring him on?
This is first time ever on camera, I think, man. He's gonna be nervous, man. I don't know if we should bring this dude on, man. Should we bring him on? We got the guy from ESPN, so let's get the guy from Sirius in here. What up,
That's
Mike?
right.
What's going on, fellas? I appreciate you having me on. I enjoyed
What's
the
up,
episode
man?
so
How
far.
are you?
Oh man, good times, good times. Long day with the NFL draft, but yes, it's almost over and exciting times. Congratulations, Tony. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mike. See, at least somebody says it. I appreciate it.
Congratulations. I was shocked. I'm still shocked. I'm waiting to find out more
too.
details as well. I am completely shocked. I think the Eagles are the favorite to win the division and the
Whoa.
NFC right now.
That's
now.
breaking news.
Right now.
Flash the
Right
breaking
now.
news alert thing.
Right now.
Breaking
If you had to place a bet,
Let me. There's the breaking. Mike, say that
I'm
again.
usually
for me,
doing that.
please.
I'm usually doing that. That's
Go ahead,
funny
Mike.
hearing
What,
it.
say that again. Who's going to win the NFC East?
If I had to place a bet right now, $100 bet, I would put it on the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm a Giants fan, but if I had to, I would.
Yeah, we're giving Mike.
I love the direction they're going. I love the direction the Eagles are going.
And that's a New York guy, by the way, everybody. That's a New York guy.
Well, I'm a Giant fan. I heard you guys early. I mean, it's hard to battle some of these comments.
Yeah,
I
I'll be the unbiased guy because I'm not an NFC East guy. So I think we should go around, and I think Sia should preach on Washington and tell us why they're going to win. Tony, you can do Philly. And then, Mike, you can do the Giants. And then I'll be the guy at the end of the season that get to laugh at two of you guys because one of you is going to be right. And it could be the Cowboys that end up taking it because they are the favorites still, even though they are where they are. So whoever wants to go first, man.
I could change soon.
See, I mean, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. So,
right,
the Washington football team, only 2 seasons removed, or however you want to count that, a season and a half removed from the playoffs, where they actually gave Tom Brady, the eventual Super Bowl champ that year, a scare in the wild card round with none other than Taylor Heineke. And I don't want to say that. I know I'm italicizing Taylor Heineke when I say it. He was good, but he just doesn't have the arm strength, okay? So now we get Carson Wentz instead of Taylor Heineke. We get Jahan Dotson in the draft to flank Terry McLaurin. We get a presumably healthy Chase Young and Curtis Samuel. So Curtis Samuel can be that gadget guy that a lot of these teams utilize. So if the receiver core is healthy, we've got Antonio Gibson, Chase Young is healthy, and that defense was top 5 just 2 years ago. So assuming they can get back somewhat to the form where they were 2 years ago, then you have a team that is a playoff team with upgrades at the quarterback position, the most important position, and the receiver position. So I honestly don't think, especially in the NFC East, the Washington football team, I'm going to call them that for now, is that far removed from making a wild card appearance.
Who's next in line? Tone, Mike, whoever wants to,
I could
battle it out.
The Giants aren't winning the division. I'd be shocked if we win more than 6 games. I do want to see competitive football nonetheless. But now look at the division. I mean, Philadelphia leaps up. I mean, I can't even explain. I mean, now we're looking at possibly a double-digit win team, Dallas double digits, and Washington's competitive. So I'll be happy if we win 5 games, 6 games. I would like to see Barkley as a RB1 this season. I believe a lot of experts have Barkley, let's say, around mid-pack of running backs. I would like to see him around bottom top 10. And Daniel Jones today, the news of Daniel Jones, he will not be on the New York Giants next season. We will be looking for a new QB. So whatever. I mean, the NFC East is going to take advantage of the Giants. And if I had to pick a winner right now, I'm not picking the Dallas Cowboys. I'm not siding with Dak. I mean, I'm not impressed with Dak Prescott the past. Outside of regular season stats, I mean, he can't take them. I'd rather take a chance on Jalen Hurts over Dak right now, knowing going into this season that they're supplying him with tools to win games. So I'm really impressed. But yeah, I can't defend. I
gotta stop you for a second, man. I asked you to tell me how the Giants are gonna win the division. So what do the Giants need to break in their favor for them to win the division here?
We're not getting Baker Mayfield. We're not getting a QB in here to. We can't. We just.
Daniel Jones is that bad? Is Daniel Jones that bad?
He's not good enough to win. He's not going to vault them ahead of the Eagles, Washington. They're going to finish. Giants are going to be last place. By the way, their over/under win total is 7. I honestly think the under is an awesome play. I don't think they're going to be. I mean, listen, they got 2 great draft picks here, but I don't think they're going to be that much better than they were last year, to be honest.
Hey, I have a question for the group. Then let's have some fun. Hey, Tony, you sweep the Giants this year. You feel really confident the 2 games. I mean, this is early. It's early.
No.
Training camp's not open. What, a split? A split?
Listen, it's the NFC East, man. The teams. One thing I've always said, whether it be Washington or the Giants, this goes back to the Jim Fossil days, man. When Andy Reid would still be killing the NFC East, but Jim Fossil would come in and take his heart. It's just an NFC East battle. So I'm never the one to say that they can win both games, because it's always, whether they're good or bad, it always acts like both of those teams are pretty evenly matched in that game. So it's hard for me to say that.
I believe it's hard to win 3 games in the division right now, and
Okay.
and I'm saying as a fan, if we win 2, I go, ooh, how did that happen? I would like to see. I'm excited still for football. I'm excited to see what the future holds. You know, I'll give you an example. 17 years ago, we drafted Eli Manning in the NFL draft, and the Giants had winning seasons. Yeah, we had some 6-10 seasons. We did win 2 Super Bowls. The past decade, we've probably been the worst team in the NFL. So we do need a QB, and that's why it's difficult to say, yeah, we're going to go win the division. I'll just be happy for 6 wins. If we get 6 wins, I'll be satisfied, because it is an improvement. I believe even the NFL tax for a swing of 3 games is difficult. And yeah, we have to match up with Dallas. We have to match up with Washington. We have to match up with A.J. Brown twice and Smith. And I'm so confused.
You notice?
Let me hear that again. Say it again.
See, you notice that these Giant fans are so salty right now. Like, they just want their team to lose. They hate Daniel Jones so much. Tony, be a man and sell your Eagles, man, and tell these 2 guys how you're gonna sweep whatever they call Washington these days. And Saquon Barkley is washed. And I thought Tony looked good. You know, I thought their wide receiver core showed some strides. I could have sold the Giants better than Mike did. Tony, just put him to rest, man.
Hold on. First of all, I need to call, because I'm sitting there, I'm listening to my multitasking, right? Listening to Mike, watching the draft to see what's going on. And the major violation of these overhyped, stiff, uneducated fans of Green Bay. So they take Quay Walker and they go to the fan base, and you see a couple guys looking at each other going, who? And then they cheer. And they have no idea who they're cheering for. Like, I listen, I'm sorry. Stuff like that just bothers me. But NFC East, listen, here's what I will say. Last year, nobody expected first-year coach, basically first-year quarterback, because he didn't play a full year, right, to come in there and make the playoffs with. You dealt with injuries to Brandon Graham, Brandon Brooks. Lane Johnson missed half their year. Right? Dallas Goedert missed a lot of time. Miles Sanders missed time and wasn't utilized the right way as well. Lot of issues on that team. They still made the playoffs, and 5th, not the NFC East, 5th in the NFC in points scored. They did that with a quarterback who supposedly can't read a defense, a quarterback who supposedly can't make a throw. And now what do? He comes back another year. He is a very intelligent quarterback. One thing I will always preach about Jalen Hurts is why I start the hashtag I'm all in with Jalen is the intangibles. He has the intangibles that a lot of other quarterbacks don't go. He went over and won the locker room instantly because that's the kind of pedigree that he has. So you come in here and you already shown that you can win football games, and now you're healthy. You have Jason Kelce comes back for a farewell tour, who still played as the best center in football last year on one friggin' leg. So now you have him. You all of a sudden, Jordan Mailata becomes a player. You don't even need Andre Dillard, who you traded up to get, right? So you already have an elite, hear me again, elite offensive line. You have a quarterback that won games, and it's only going to get better. You have, okay, he's a rock, paper, and scissors guy, but you have a head coach who looked like he does command the locker room. And now you go out and get a dynamic playmaker in A.J. Brown to go with Devontae Smith, Alabama's own, a kid who is just going to flourish in year 2. Man, I'm telling you, the sky's the limit. I'm excited. And I think right now, you asked me before, but with this addition, they can win the NFC East just as much as anybody else.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
They're plus 275.
Is that good salesman? I'm proud.
That's a great number.
It sounds like a New Yorker selling hard, man. I like that. And you sold it with some facts and stuff like that. So It's tough though. I still think the Cowboys, they still have some people out there. They're going to play good ball. As far as the NFC East goes, regular season, they're the favorites for a reason. Someone's got to take them down if they stay healthy. They have 2 good running backs. They have some good wide receivers. And, I do hear a couple of rumors about Debo going there. I know David said he's staying in San Fran. CSA is staying in San Fran. If he goes there, you guys are all screwed if he does go to Dallas, man, because
he ain't going to
they
Dallas.
got some money out there and they have a winning offense. So I know you guys are all shaking your head. I don't know where he goes, man. I don't predict these types of things.
No, I'm not shaking my head for Debo. I'm shaking my head about Dallas only because, again, like Mike McCarthy's come up very small. You say what you want, and I still listen. I will preach the eye test over anything ever when I look at athletes. And you say what you want about Zeke Elliott. He could be the best guy in the world. That dude don't want to play half the time.
No, he don't want to play. Yeah,
right? He don't want to play half the time. So I'm relying on a guy who maybe wants to show up, maybe doesn't want to show up. This is like Ricky Williams 2.0 all over again. So you know what I mean?
I'll add to that. I believe they will miss Cooper. I believe Cooper they will miss Cooper.
I agree.
And we'll see. We'll see what happens with Dak. I don't put Dak high on the QB rankings as others, not just because of stats. I just be in game moments, and I'm just personally not impressed with Dak Prescott. I think Jalen Hurts again, not to put him over the top. I think he could lead the pack in the NFC East next season. I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be scared to take a prop bet on him, and especially he's dynamic, and that's what you want in the NFL right now moving forward. So I can't defend the Giants. I hope to defend the Giants in 3 to 5 seasons. Hopefully the rebuild process starts now. A new coaching, top to bottom. And
Mike, don't worry. We got our Mets, man. We got our Mets.
Yeah, I don't want to
Mets. Can you? All right, let's go. All right,
we're playing the Phillies this weekend. I want Tony to have his time. I'm going to speak to Tony this weekend. I want to have his time.
Did you see Zach Wheeler? Did you see Zach Wheeler? I'm just wondering.
Mike, sell us on the Mets at least, man. Let's give you.
Now, one fast comment because it's the NFL draft. We're the best team in Major League Baseball. We're the best team.
Major League Baseball.
Major League Baseball. We're better than the Dodgers.
Mike, you drove a lot today, man. You okay?
No, I mean, I've been up for a while.
I know. So I'm just making sure I'm checking on you. I'm checking a poll.
I believe we can match up with the Dodgers. We can match up with the Cardinals. We can match up with the Toronto Blue Jays. Whoever comes out the AL East is a tough division as well. Not worried about the Braves. Yeah, Philly. We'll see what happens this weekend. I want to get back to NFL draft. We'll be there. We'll play the Phillies this weekend, and we'll see. But we're up one already. But today's Tony's day. For Philadelphia had a wonderful day.
This is a big day.
It's brotherly love right now. Right now it's brotherly love, and then 24
It's all downhill from today, though.
Yeah,
they lose in the second. They lose in the second round. They lose to the Mets, and everything's downhill for Tony after this.
But for football right now, you should feel great. You should feel great. I mean, today is wonderful for you. I'm shocked still.
I feel it. I'm good.
I want to ask. So, Mike, you probably can't really get into this, but you're such a good producer, which is why you work on our show, which we're lucky to have you. But you also worked on the Howard Stern show. While we're waiting for some of these Cowboys are on the clock, I don't know, is there any just fun little things about you producing, your time producing that show that you could tell us about that's not compromising any confidences or anything like that?
Absolutely. The personalities, the cast, starting with, I've worked more with the wrap-up show, so I want to give a big shout out to Gary Delabate, John Hine, Rashad Rogers, and the whole team behind the scenes. And it prepared me for producing, and it gave me the opportunity, a wonderful opportunity, I believe a priceless opportunity to grow with the process. So I believe that's what's going on with Fantasy Sports Radio right now. I'm thrilled to be a part of the team at SiriusXM and work with Win Daily. I started with Win Daily, so they have a special place in my heart. So that's why I go so hard. And I'm looking forward to the future. And just with sports content, I believe as we go on, and especially when you listen to Win Daily on the weekends, is we give out winning picks, we give out knowledgeable views, and now we're just adding a little more comedy to it. And I think we're getting it tonight. So it was a great live stream so far. From top to bottom, too, I'm very impressed.
Yeah, we gotta the comedy. We do a lot of different stuff on our Saturday and Sunday night show in terms of live bets and stuff like that. So If you're listening, definitely listen to us 9 to 11 Saturday and Sunday nights, because it's not just your standard fantasy show.
So
But
I'll give a fun fact too, because I guess I didn't give the complete answer. A fun fact about the wrap up show with John Hine. John Hine is a huge baseball fan. Huge baseball fan. He could go back 30 years, 40 years, and he'll give you stats, opinions, passionate. So I just believe that's how we started our friendship, was through baseball. So him coming from Pennsylvania and me with the Mets, obviously we had some battles, but he's just a great individual. And everyone there on that Stern staff, it's a well-oiled machine. They work so hard. They earned everything that they have. And I still listen now as a fan, and I'm looking forward to see what they come up with next.
Mike, just so you know, I've been trying to coerce Tony into a bet, and he still won't bet me on this yet. I keep on trying. The bet I want to make is whatever the bet is, win or lose, Tony either has to come to New York to watch a Met game against Philly, or I got to go to Philly and watch a Met game versus Philly. We just need someone to settle what the bet is, so one of us can lose and one of us can win. So if somebody has an idea sometime soon,
season series. I mean, right now, we're the favorites, so we're already up 1 on the season series.
Somebody put a bet out there in the comments that Tony will accept. I'll pretty much accept anything. It's a win-win for me. I either go to vacation and go to see a game in Philly, or
here's the issue though, and this is and again, this ain't to put anybody on a pedestal or whatever, but. Oh man, I'm just too damn busy. I got no time.
You go to Nelly if you have time for a Nelly concert. If you have time for a Nelly concert,
what's all the hate on Nelly?
This is where we should go.
With Nelly. Like if you what's the
hate? Like New York hip hop, this guy's going to a Nelly concert, but he can't go to a Met game.
I saw it on Twitter. You would have a wonderful time at Citi Field. It's a top 5 stadium in Major League Baseball. Steve Cohen's doing a wonderful job. We have the statue outside now of Tom Seaver.
I want to know what's wrong with St. Louis's finest with Nelly. Well, I don't get the Nelly hate, man.
I don't know Nelly hate.
There's no Nelly hate. Just, if I'm going to go to a concert,
I don't think Jason wants me to play Nelly on the show, though. I'll say that. I don't think it's a request.
Listen, let me map this out, okay? Let me map this out. So,
hold on, before you go, Tone, who are you going to the concert with? That's part of the equation here. Who are you taking to the? You're not going by yourself. So, who are you going to the concert with?
I'm going with 3 women.
I'm impressed.
Yeah, I'm going with my wife. I'm going with my sister-in-law, and I'm going with me and my wife's best friend. And then they're all women.
I'm just saying it sounds better than saying 3 guys. So
it's
guys better, son.
Yeah, it's not a sausage fest. It's me and 3 women.
Great answer.
You like that? So then I got to back it up and throw a wife in there too. You know
I would go to a Nelly concert. I would pay to see Nelly. So I would.
I saw Nelly in a small venue 4 years ago where he was rapping and singing, and the instrumentals were a live symphony. And I was in the second row. I'm going to post it in the thread that we were chatting on. I'm going to post a little video from it. This guy is such a great performer, and that St. Louis sound is so distinct. I absolutely love it. I honestly think, and we had this conversation on Twitter, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago. Spencer was a part of it. We had a bunch of people chiming in. I don't think it's crazy. I know you guys are going to laugh at me. I don't think it's crazy to say that Nelly is definitely inside the top 10 rappers of all time, and maybe somewhere near the top 5.
Ooh.
I don't think it's crazy.
What? I saw the text come in. What are we saying right now? Top 10 rapper of all time, Nelly?
All time. All time.
Not even top 35, top 50 maybe.
Wow.
Top 50.
I'm just telling you that's what I think. And when we had this conversation before, I believe Spencer was one of the guys who kind of stood up for that there are people who agree. The problem is you have a perception of him because where he's gone since he started producing his first couple albums.
What's Nelly's best song? Let's start there.
I mean, I don't know. That's probably Hot in Here.
No, I go Country Grammar. So
Country Grammar,
right?
For sure.
Because again, that showcased the St. Louis-esque. Right,
Mm-hmm.
It was a different. It's like when people like Outkast came in, and it was that different style, that New Orleans style, right? So, no, seriously, in all seriousness.
No, I'm laughing at this.
The Band-Aid.
I'm laughing at this.
Well, listen, I will tell you this. I may not wear a Band-Aid, but I'll be the best dressed dude there. I'm gonna throw that out there right now. But as far as say it top, I would love to go top 10, top 20. I'm kind of with Jason here, man. Only because I love Nelly. I love his style, but he's more of a hip hop entertainer to me than a hip hop lyricist. So I not to get technical. So for me, he's more pop than like rap. So, and that's where the hip hop comes into play. But I hope you're right, because the venue I'm going to see him in only hosts 2,100 people. It's a small venue.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm more excited about it. So I'm not going to like this 50,000 stadium or whatever. So I think it's going to be a good show.
I predict a fun show, especially there with 3 women. It'll be fun. I would say if it was 10 years ago and I was dancing in a club and there was girls around, probably someone I'd rather dance to. So if you're talking like dance hip hop with a girl, he might fall into some kind of top list. But I'll tell you right now, I have like 500 songs in this phone. It's all hip hop, and I don't think there's one Nelly song that ever comes up in my playlist ever. Like, it's not even in the mix that ever comes through my phone. And I have no hate towards Nelly. Like, if it came on the radio and I was listening to radio or I was in a club and dancing, I'd be happy. Like, I'd be happy to hear it. It's positive vibes. It's a good song. A couple beats are good. But, like, I won't have it in my playlist, just being honest with you guys.
That's okay. If Nelly, if you're on Fantasy Sports, we'd love to have you on the show, and I think you're a great rapper. And
he's actually a really good athlete, though. He's actually like a stud athlete. He almost made it to the minor leagues or something like that. If I remember correctly, he was a 6 shortstop in high school and college or whatever it was. He's a sick athlete.
I'm going to send out the email now. I'm going to work on it this week. I'm going to send out the email and see if he's on Fantasy Sports. So a lot of.
I'm going to have to take a weekend off after shitting on Nelly for the past 10 minutes. He's going to have a whole freestyle talking about me throughout the entire show like that. So that's not going to be good.
Did any of you guys catch him in? I don't know if you guys watch Versus or not, but did you catch him when he came out, when it was Fat Joe versus Ja Rule, and he came out? Did you catch that, Mike?
Yeah, copy that.
I caught a little bit of that.
He didn't sound too good, Mike. Hey, did you see that scene? He didn't sound too good.
He's for the culture. For what he's brought to the table for hip hop. I salute him. I give Nelly a lot of credit, especially coming from the Midwest. And usually you have your big markets, New York, LA. So for Nelly to come out of St. Louis and to represent, for his city, I give him a lot of credit. I'm not gonna put him that high as Sia with the bars necessarily, but nonetheless, I'll listen to Nelly. I have him in my playlist. I definitely will have him in the car. I think my daughter knows who Nelly is soon. She's 12 years old. So
he's inside the top 10. I stand by it.
So last thing on Nelly, let me ask you guys this, because we don't have no FCC rules on here. So legendary for his skin game, and what I mean by that is Ashanti. So you got to give him some props, right? So I'm just throwing it out there. He got to be a legendary skin game contender right there too. So just throwing it out there. Not just
I'm a big fan. Hi, Ashanti. I'm a big fan too. I like the vibe. So
he says hi, Ashanti.
Yeah, how you doing? You can come too. If anyone who plays fantasy sports, they're more than welcome to come on one daily. So
yeah, absolutely. I like it.
So I was watching the episode earlier, and I saw I want to bring up a subject with the whiteouts. Is anyone surprised with Drake London going to the Falcons?
Yes, very much so.
Those reports were going out early in the morning about him going to Atlanta, and I find it shocking that I think they found their whiteout. That's how I think Atlanta Falcons feel. They found their whiteout, and the Jets, I feel, have a steal in the top 10 with Wilson. So I thought that was pretty amazing outside of the AJ Brown trade.
Yeah, I mean, I think Garrett Wilson probably should have been the first receiver off the board. And honestly, I didn't think Drake London was – I'm not saying he's bad. I mean, I'm not even saying he was a horrible pick. If you're Atlanta, like, I'm not even sure that's where you go. And you could probably get a pretty good receiver in the second round is my guess. I don't know. There's a few guys I liked more.
They could have traded down. I believe you said that early in the episode. Yeah. They could have traded down as well. They had options. I was surprised, but his stock went up in the last 48 hours, and maybe his charisma, how he handled himself in the room with the organization. But Atlanta found their whiteout. That's why I think the Jets, it was an easy pick for them to take Wilson right after that. It was a steal. It fell on their lap. So
Seems like the
looking forward
Falcons,
to
like
it.
no matter, I feel like no matter, like some of these bad teams have so many holes. No matter what they take, it's gonna be a bad look. Like Sia said, like they need defense, they need a running back, they need a quarterback. They have so many holes that a wide receiver. I get what Sia was saying earlier. Like a wide receiver doesn't fix the Falcons' problems, but what does fix the Falcons' problem?
Well,
at this
nothing.
point, you
So
know?
that's a good point. They're not
Yeah.
playing for this year, which is a really horrible thing to say because obviously all their players are going to be like laying their bodies out on the line for 17 games. They're playing for their contracts and their careers. But the reality is Atlanta is like not going anywhere this year. So I don't know if that makes the argument better or worse in terms of drafting a receiver. Obviously, when Calvin Ridley gets back, which is presumably after this coming season, you know, they're going to have probably two really good receivers along with their, you know, top 4 tight end or the 4th overall pick tight end and Kyle Pitts. So I don't know. I guess it makes sense. You find a quarterback, you put him in there after the Mariota experiment and you've got weapons, but there's just so much to fix.
Let me ask you guys, we all bet, we all throw a couple of dollars down. You know, the initial reaction that you guys had was AJ Brown goes to Eagle. Let's go bet the Eagles to win the division, right?
Mm-hmm.
But AFC South, Texans suck, Jaguars suck, Titans lose AJ Brown. The Colts are plus 105 to win a division. Weren't they favorites going in, and now aren't they a lock to win that division?
And they added Stephon Gilmore to their secondary, if memory serves. So yeah, I think that's a really good call out. I you know, and we don't know what the situation is with the Titans and Derrick Henry. Like,
and you
is
got
he going
Matt
to be
Ryan.
healthy
I think Matt Ryan is good, right? Like, are you guys pro Matt Ryan, or you guys think Matt Ryan is a bad quarterback?
I've literally never thought that Matt Ryan is an above average quarterback. Never at any time in his career.
Really?
I think I'm not going to say Kyle Shanahan made him that year that they went to the Super Bowl, but I think that had a lot to do with Kyle Shanahan.
You think he's a bad quarterback though? Like, do you think he deserves a starting job?
I don't think he's going to be any worse than Carson Wentz. And
better?
So I don't know that. He's probably going to be a little bit better. His
He doesn't
decision
make the
making,
dumbass plays that Carson Wentz makes.
his decision making will be a little bit better, but I mean, and he has a good offensive line. So I mean, I get the plus 105 argument. You're right. You're really down to 2 teams.
That defense is so good, man. Like Leonard, and that defense won games. Taylor can win games.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a lock. No on a lock.
So
I put 100 on it right now that the Colts win the division.
I
would put
I
100.
would too.
If there was a gun to my head, I would put the Colts to win the division.
I would, So you say the word lock, and I get immediately scared because you know what was a lock is the last game of the season when the Colts traveled to Jacksonville. All they had to do was win that game.
But
and not only were they going to make the playoffs, but
they
were
can't
like
beat the Jaguars for whatever reason. They haven't beat the Jaguars in Jacksonville for like however many years. It's nuts.
See ya. Matt Ryan wins that game.
Probably.
Over Wentz.
Honestly,
I think Matt Ryan wins that game.
Yeah, he probably does, but
too.
I don't even know that I blame Carson Wentz really for that game. Although he had a bad game, but yeah, Matt Ryan probably wins that game. Matt Ryan would know how, like in a close game, in a game that had that much on the line, I think he'd know how to navigate his offense to get a win. Ultimately.
He gets an offensive line. Like Jonathan Taylor can win pretty much half your games alone. The defense wins the other third. Like Matt Ryan just played. They don't have any Pittman. Where are we at with Pittman? Is he a wide receiver 1 in this league moving forward or no?
I mean, he is on the Colts, but no, he's not. To me, he's not a true wide receiver 1 in the classic sense that you're asking.
They get one more piece there. Then one more wide receiver here. They'd be a really good team, man.
He has potential, though. I give him that. He has potential for an outbreak season with the right QB, and I don't think the right QB was Carson Wentz in that situation. Might not be Matt Ryan. But I think Matt Ryan will give him more opportunity, depending how they run their season. I mean, Jonathan Taylor has to calm down too. I mean, I don't know if he's going to have that season again necessarily, but nonetheless, I think Matt Ryan's a huge improvement for me moving on that team. Where I was kind of surprised when Washington went after Wentz, with just based on how the past seasons are. I think he's serviceable. Where Matt Ryan, I give him a little notch over Carson Wentz right now at the moment.
I've got some intel with respect to Jonathan Taylor. So a buddy of mine named Brandon White is a wide receiver coach down here. Not for any NFL team. He just does it independently. He gets all the big stars down here. They practice about a mile away from where I'm sitting right now. And when I say stars, I'm talking stars. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Jerry Jeudy, you name Justin Jefferson, you name it, they're down here training with him in the summer, like for the next few months. Well, guess who was down here last week? By the way, this isn't super private. You can go on Instagram and follow the Receiver Factory and see all of this stuff. But guess who was training, not as a running back, but as a wide receiver, training in terms of route running and things of that nature? None other than Jonathan Taylor. So this kid is working on his sort of secondhand game, if you will. I think he's trying to be the most well-rounded running back in the league. And he's working with the right guy, because I'm telling you, this guy, Brandon, is an absolute superstar with his craft. And so I wouldn't be shocked at all if you see Jonathan Taylor make way more of an impact in the passing game next year.
If he stays healthy, man, that team's going to move forward with Matt Ryan and that defense. So I like them a lot. The one division I feel is kind of funky and kind of wide open. I don't know why the Browns getting all this respect when Watson hasn't played in a year. How do you guys chop up, Tone, how do you chop up the AFC North? You got the Browns plus 175, the Bengals, who went to the Super Bowl, who looked really good at plus 200, Ravens plus 225, Steelers just grabbed their quarterback or Trubisky, they're plus 800. Do you have the Browns, leading this division, or do you think the Bengals, who just went to the Super Bowl, are going to come back stronger than they were last year?
Nah, listen. I'm a big guy that says, no matter how much athleticism you have, when you're away from a game and you have a lot of outside interference going on, it's going to take a little while for you to adjust. So I'm not – listen, Cleveland went through a lot of changes. I'm not sold on that team at all. So I agree. I don't understand why they're such a favorite. For me, it's funny. Last year in the preseason, I forget what show it was on, but somebody had asked me, one surprise team that I thought – that made the playoffs the year before wouldn't make it this year. And I said it was the Pittsburgh Steelers. And they thought I was crazy. And lo and behold, I know they made it, but they didn't have the year that they originally were going to have. But I still think this is the Bengals' year. But I'm a big Harbaugh guy. I love Baltimore. I love the coach. I love the culture on that team. I know they had a bad year, but for me, there's no way they finished below the Browns. So if you're asking me right now, I say Bengals, Ravens, Steelers, Browns. I still think the Browns finished last.
For the record, I think the Steelers at plus 800 isn't terrible. I think that's a gigantic number in this division that's very competitive, and the Steelers are always – if the Steelers were plus 475, I'd be like, okay, I'm glossing right over that. But plus 800 is like a ridiculous number. As far as the Browns, we don't even know what's happening with Deshaun Watson's suspension.
Yep.
He is going to get suspended, personal conduct policy, for some period of time, if for nothing else, for the optics of it. There is no way that Roger Goodell is not going to suspend. It's not going to be like a time served thing. He's going to have to sit out more games. So you've got that lingering over their head. I don't see how you could possibly bet the Cleveland Browns. To me, it's between the Bengals and the Ravens. I'm trying to consider, do I get cute with the Ravens or do I just go with the Bengals? I'm still not sure what the Bengals are. I think they should have beat the Rams in the Super Bowl. I truly do. They should have won that game. With that said, it's Harbaugh, man. He figures it out. He just figures it out. By the way, I don't know if you all missed this. I know most of you are pretty dialed in, but we've been doing this show. Hollywood Brown is no longer a Raven. He's on the Arizona Cardinals with DeAndre Hopkins and not Christian Kirk, but Kyler Murray. That's a very interesting trade. And I wonder, now the Ravens have a lot of good young receivers, but they don't have much. Well, they do, but they're young and they don't have a ton of experience. That's the thing.
Are they good? Are they? My question to you, this is what I was saying earlier with, Hurts and the Eagles going out there and getting a wide receiver for Hurts, and they get AJ Brown and they draft Devontae Smith. What have the Ravens done? And I love Harbaugh. I like that grittiness. I love everything about him. But what have the Ravens done to really help Lamar Jackson? I think Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, they haven't done anything to help out Aaron Rodgers from a wide receiver position. And Lamar Jackson, you're taking shots at these wide receivers, but they suck. Like Hollywood Brown couldn't catch a pass the first year. Now he's kind of doing well. Your best wide receiver has been your tight end for the past 3 years. Like, what are they really doing to help this dude? And they don't want him to run, really. So, like,
think about it. Think about it, Jay. I hate to bring Philly into this, but think about who John Harbaugh studied from, Andy Reid. And what did Andy Reid do in Philadelphia with Donovan McNabb? Never gave him anybody until T.O., right? He consistently put all the weight on McNabb's shoulders every single year. All they did was have a legit running game, and that was it. And it was all about McNabb, James Thrash, Todd Pinkston.
James Thrash.
Right?
Oh
James Thrash, Todd Pink, Chad Lewis, and freaking tight end.
It's gross. I feel bad for Lamar, man.
That's what they're doing. That's what they do. I don't understand it. I never understood it. But I feel like when they have that quarterback, sometimes they just feel like this guy just can do it all. So we'll just spend in other areas. We don't need to get him these elite weapons because he is that good to make everybody else better. It's not always
Where's
true.
Antonio Brown? Is he in the NFL this year or no?
He's gonna get picked up. He could get picked up.
Because I thought he wanted to go to Lamar Jackson and he wanted to go there. Is he?
I believe there's a problem with Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore situation. Baltimore wants to re-sign him. He doesn't want to re-sign right now. He wants to be his own agent, which is pros and cons to that.
You want that job.
I can see Lamar Jackson leaving Baltimore in some aspects. With their structure now, he probably will get franchise tag. He has no support. I can see Cincinnati really taking the division again. They made upgrades on their O-line. I mean, T. Higgins could have a breakout season.
He's excellent.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how big he was. He looks like a tight end every time he catches the ball, man. I didn't realize until that playoff run how big that dude is.
There's no more. I mean, Chase, we know what he is now, and I can see Higgins just getting a little more. I mean, the talent since he can make another run, that's how I feel.
Yeah,
Baltimore probably second in the division, but again, they're missing pieces, and even if you add AB, I don't think it's going to help the culture in Baltimore. I think they have more issues there a little bit than the past 2 seasons.
Be problematic.
Where Lamar Jackson, look at the QB carousel this season. Lamar Jackson could be one of those QBs next season, 2 seasons back, could lead the division. I mean, it's unpopular. No one wants to hear that. Giant. No one wants to hear that in the DMV right now, but I could see Lamar Jackson on another team.
Yeah.
Personally.
I do think it's the Bengals, though. I think that's the bet. I think plus 200 is actually a pretty good number because, I think the Browns are actually better than you guys think, because I think Deshaun Watson not throwing a ball for a year is not as big of a deal as you guys are making it out to be. But I do think he's going to get suspended for some period of time, and I just don't think they're going to be as fluid as what we're going to see with the Bengals. So I think plus 200 is actually a good bet. With Hollywood Brown, like you're right, Jason, looking at the wide receiver depth chart, it's not great. It's a bunch of young, like it's Rashad Bateman, it's Devin Duvernay, it's James Prochet. Like these are guys that are never going to be like proven wide receiver ones, or maybe not even wide receiver twos. They're kind of like the next guy, the wide receiver 3, if you will.
Like if I get mad these NBA players for like sitting out, because I think they're it makes no sense to me, Ben Simmons and Zion. But like if I was an NFL player and you keep on doing me wrong and I'm getting beat, like you like NBA, it's tough. You're out there. I know your knees hurt. You might get elbowed, but it's not football. Like if anybody was to sit out, like I can see an NFL. I wouldn't be mad at NFL players sitting out on a bad team when like nobody's helping them. Like I feel bad for Lamar, man. I really do. Like all the pressure in the world. Then you start mocking him that he can't hit his throws. Obviously, like you put nobody around him is not helping him. Like give him some talent. Like there's only going to be a certain that window where Lamar is going to be Lamar, and he's that fast and he can get around people. Like that window's going to close soon, and you didn't give this guy anything. Like Hollywood Brown was his number 1 wide receiver for the past couple of years, and he's not that good.
Right. Yeah.
Crazy to me, man.
So I'm gonna switch the topic real fast. So this is new for me because I'm usually behind the scenes. So I like this aspect. I believe the Jets just picked up Jermaine Johnson II. I think that's a steal. He dropped. He dropped huge. So obviously there's some underlines there to look at. I want to bring up the Win Daily Show on Sirius XM. A few weeks ago, Sia brought up the AFC West, and he brought up how Kansas City may not win the division. And this was before the Tyreek Hill, if I'm correct now.
Yeah.
So I want to ask the group now, How do you feel? Obviously, all the additions in the AFC West. Could Kansas City miss the playoffs? Now, that day we brought it up. C was a little nervous. C was still there saying, I'm not saying it, but hypothetically, and he brought up great points. Now we're 4 weeks, maybe a month later. It's an interesting topic because Kansas City, I wouldn't pick them to win the division right now.
We had Jeff Feinberg on earlier, and I made the same suggestion. I said I think the Chargers could win the division. They made a lot of offseason moves, like big time moves to help it's not just the flashy stuff. Like they made some really good moves. And then you have Denver, which I don't know what to make of Denver, but I know they have a good defense. I know they have a major upgrade at quarterback, and I know they have a great receiver core. So that's a team that's going to contend for a playoff spot. And then you have Mahomes, who I don't want to say he got figured out because he didn't, but there were a lot of times throughout the season where he didn't look good at all. And teams were kind of playing a different style of defense, making him be patient, making him throw it underneath. And he wasn't making the same throws that we're used to see him making. So you take Tyreek Hill off that roster. Their defense to me has held up over the last couple of years, but I don't really see how. I mean, it's been basically the Chris Jones show on the defensive line. And then it's just a bunch to me, Tyrann Mathieu, of course, but it's a lot of spare parts. I could see that defense really wilting finally this year. And Mahomes doesn't have his big play threat. Kelsey is going to be 33 this year. What do you really have aside from the mystique of Patrick Mahomes? I'll tell you what you have a really good, much more improved Chargers team with Herbert with another year under his belt and Russell Wilson leading a team that was already pretty good. So even if you don't think Russell Wilson is some crazy good quarterback at this juncture of his career, it is a major, major upgrade for Denver. I could absolutely see Kansas City missing the playoffs. And there's no chance I'm betting them to win the division. That's for damn sure.
If you're asking me, I love the Chargers. I think the Chiefs are still going to be good. I don't know what good entails, but I think the team that's the most underrated is the Raiders in that division. I think you pick up Devontae. I think Derek Carr has always got a bad rap. I think he's actually a really good quarterback. Like I really do think he's a good quarterback.
I agree.
He's never had any weapons either. Now he actually has like what I'd want to have if I was an NFL quarterback. If they keep the tight end in Waller, because I've heard some rumors now that they might let him go, whatever the case may be. If they keep Waller.
There was reports.
Yeah, there's reports out earlier today or earlier this week that Waller might be shipped to Green Bay, which wouldn't make sense to me, but I don't know why you'd want to do that. Maybe gift them back for giving them Devontae Adams. I don't know. But if you have Waller, Renfro, who can find ways to get open.
Thank you for saying Renfro.
And then you have Adams.
People just forget about Hunter Renfro.
It's a perfect, that's a good offense. And Carr, Herbert was making those throws, right? But so was Carr. And Carr was making them to Renfro. So everybody thinks Herbert, and I think Herbert's probably one of the top 2-3 quarterbacks in the league right now. But Carr is just he always says the right things. He's out there supporting his team. I just think throws a good ball. Watch what they do, him and Adams, man. If they stay healthy, don't sleep. I don't know how good their defense is going to be. Coaching-wise, I know they had problems, with what happened last year, but they hung in there, and they beat the Chargers, too, in the craziest game that ever could be imaginable. That it should have ended in a tie, and they could have both made the playoffs. But I think I'm not going to bet the Raiders, but I wouldn't mind betting the Raiders over win totals, and plus 600 in that division is not worth it, but I think the Raiders are slept on too.
Yeah, I agree. I think that combo of Adams, Waller, and Renfro is honestly because obviously Waller's not a receiver, but there's not many 3 guys in terms of receiving options that you're going to find that are better than those 3. And I'm trying to sort of think out loud as I'm talking. I'm sure there are a couple, but that is an incredibly lethal combo. You can't. Waller's not really coverable, in my opinion.
Who the combo of quarterback, tight end, and 2 wide receivers in that division has the best? Quarterback, 2 wide receivers, and a tight end. Who's the best in that division? Just on paper for right now.
No, it's the Raiders for sure.
It's got to be the Raiders.
Oh, it's 100% the Raiders. Yeah, it's not even a question.
I mean, you could maybe make a play for the Chargers.
I was going to say
maybe
the Chargers.
Yeah, the Chargers. You have Keenan. Mike Williams is still there, right?
Yeah, he's still there. They re-signed him.
They have 3 tight ends. They
Is he
got your
healthy?
favorite tight ends here. What's his name? Steven. You love playing him in DFS.
How-
You thinking about Donald Parham? That's the backup tight end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He kept on hitting his touchdown.
And you know what,
Yes.
Jason? Though, off that, if someone did say the Denver Broncos, I wouldn't be mad at them. I wouldn't look at them and go, that's you're not too far off, because if Russell, if first name Russell, last name Wilson plays maybe 3-4 years ago, Russell, that team is dangerous. That's what I mean. I can't even pick a winner in that division, but I could say now that I'm not picking Kansas City.
I think Russ is the worst quarterback in that division. I'll say that.
Who, Russell?
Yeah. Right now, today. Today.
It's
Today.
tight.
Today.
It's like, because you're not. I mean, but Tony, right?
Well,
you're not going to put him over Pat Mahomes, and there's no disrespect to the division. And
So
who else after? You're not going to put him over Herbert. You're not going to put him over Herbert.
Oh, you're
Today,
crazy.
yeah.
You're
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
You
It's only
bet too
between
much.
him and Carr. So you're saying
Yeah.
Carr's the worst? I don't know.
I mean, it's not crazy, but I disagree
Today,
with him.
Tone.
But it's not absolutely crazy. I mean, obviously, he likes Carr a lot.
He
He's
likes
trying to-
Carr
he's
over
selling
Wilson.
No,
that.
I think Russ is. Why didn't Russ play well last year? Injuries or what?
Yeah.
What is it? Why
They
did
were still a
DK
7-10
and Lockett have
team
not
with
so great
injuries.
years? Why does Seattle have not so great years the past couple of years?
Well, I mean, it's not. I mean, their defense
Not only
just
on him, but
is super watered down. The offensive line was always a problem. Like literally, even when they were good, their offensive line was a
He
problem.
missed games. Russell missed games, and they still went 7-10. I mean, you gotta give him some credit there.
Yeah.
I put a little blame on DJ Metcalf. The second year progression, I don't think worked the way they maybe saw him. He was very aggressive on the field. I mean, he was ejected twice during games.
He's going to be a problem. I see this David Boston vibes. I'm telling you. I know that's an old school reference, but
Wow,
this
I love
guy's
that.
more interested in his physique, in my opinion. I could be wrong.
I
He's
love
more
that.
interested in his physique and his persona than really anything else. It doesn't make him a non-football person. I'm not saying he's not interested in that, but he's so interested in the camera, and he can't get away with it like a guy like Odell Beckham can, or at least a guy like Odell Beckham did for a few years when he was just amazing before his first injury under the Eli Manning era. So I'm not so sure about DK Metcalf. And to your point, Mike, he did regress a little bit. And frankly, when he came out of college, he was this athletic freak, but there was a knock on him potentially that he wasn't going to be this great route runner, that he was a little stiff. And he did way better than I thought he would. But I just wonder if maybe he just doesn't have the versatility that we all think he does.
See, I think the problem with this panel on the bottom here is you have this generational Z mentality where it's what have you done for me lately, right? So you're talking about Russell Wilson. Hold on for a second. Russell Wilson missed 2 games in 9 years. 2 games. And that was last year. Coming off of 2 back-to-back 4,000-yard, 31-5, 40-13 seasons. Please tell me how he was the problem in Seattle. I'm very curious how this guy was a problem in Seattle.
I don't think he was the problem, but I think he wanted out.
Said he was the problem. He was a problem in Seattle.
no, I'm saying he's regressing big time.
That's possible. We like the reality. I mean, the reality is we don't know.
Is it 1 year?
Yeah, that's the thing. That's
It's
the sample
not
size
1
is too
year.
small.
What do you mean? I think he regressed the year before too.
It was 42, 12, 40, and 13.
The year
68%
before,
completion rate.
the year before, yeah, he was a top
41,
10 quarterback,
31-5.
top 10 quarterback,
behind
Kirk Cousins, and behind, as far as I don't know, I think he's regressing. He's regressing
But
faster.
that's a popular opinion right now about Russell Wilson, though. That others believe also that that we're not getting the prime Russell. I just think he has targets. He could throw the ball, they could run the ball, but he does play in the toughest division in football now. So how does it shape up? But I do put him over Carr, just not by much. Not by much. But I have Carr. But that's not a knock to Carr. I mean, that division, I'll take that division over any division right now for the QBs in the league.
You guys realize, though, as we talk about this more and more, the prospect of the Kansas City Chiefs missing the playoffs
is higher.
You can't just be like, no, they're the Chiefs. They're definitely making the playoffs.
No,
I just don't think you can do that anymore.
I agree. We could change the subject. I'm waiting to see if the Packers draft a wideout right now because this would be the
Yes.
7th wideout to come
There
out.
should be a
and that
live
prop-
look at Aaron Rodgers right now.
That
That's
prop
where-
would hit. That prop went up. I believe it started at 5.5. Last 48 hours, it went up to 6.5.
Nope.
Wow.
And a lot of
Defensive
people
tackle.
so probably that's not going to pop. I saw a interesting story. So I'm in the studio earlier working on a show. I'm thinking I'm going to get to bet on the NFL draft to find out because I was in New York. I legally couldn't bet on the NFL draft. Where someone in studio said take 5 corners. That 5 corners were going to go in the first round. And I don't think it hit. Obviously, we're getting close down. I think only 3 or 4 left on board, but we'll see what happens. But yes, the Packers haven't selected, I believe, a wideout in the first round for the last 20 years or 20 seasons. I believe that's a solid fact. They have in the second round, like Adams was the second round pick.
Are there any receivers that are potentially available right now other than Deebo Samuel? And by the way, was this not the most perfect time to get A.J. Brown? Do everything you can to get A.J. Brown and make Aaron Rodgers happy.
There's a story behind that. There's going to be a story that's going to come out about this A.J. Brown and how the structure. I mean, he was just talking so highly about the team as well in reports. I can't wait to hear what happened with A.J. Brown.
And that deal, like Tony said, that deal was done like weeks.
Yeah, exactly. This was talked about.
Yes.
He's another one. He saw all the wideouts move, and we could blame Christian Kirk, we could blame whoever. But once these wideouts saw each other getting paid, they all won it. And
I'll tell you what,
all won it.
The MVP for every single wide receiver that's in the league right now is Christian Kirk's agent.
Mm-hmm.
No, his agent specifically, because now that's the new barometer. That's the new precedent. And it's like, all right, well, I know I'm better than Christian Kirk. So how much more are you going to pay me? And it happens everywhere, right? Like at every position, quarterback. I'm trying to remember. We brought up Kirk Cousins earlier. Like it's probably 4 years ago where he got a pretty big contract from the Vikings after leaving Washington, and he set the market. And every other quarterback was like, all right, well, if Kirk Cousins, an average quarterback, is getting that, then you're paying me way more. And so it's kind of a problem for teams right now. Like I get why the San Francisco 49ers don't want to unload on Deebo Samuel. They got a lot of guys on their defense they need to sign, including Bosa, by the way. So there's a lot of potential issues when you unload money on your skill position guys.
Yeah, I said it. I know you mentioned it. I said it before. I'll say it again. Christian Kirk will be worth that contract tenfold. I think he's going to put up monster numbers. Say what you want. I get that we're going to rely on Trevor Lawrence. I understand, but as much as I cannot stand Doug Peterson, I'm not a Doug guy. He is a quarterback whisperer, and he knows how to get guys to put up numbers. Listen, that Super Bowl year, he had a lot of guys put up some really, really good numbers. And let's not forget, I know it was Arizona, and he played next to D-Hop. Okay, but you're talking 77 for 1,000. Listen, there's no reason why he can't throw up 90 and 1,300 and 8 to 9 touchdowns. And if he does that for 2 to 3 years, that's the money that he received.
Hey, no knock then. I just think he changed the whole market of wideouts.
Yeah, he did.
And I would have never thought it was Christian Kirk. I would now looking at it, I'm like, wow, but I believe Jacksonville could improve. I believe Jacksonville could improve.
I'll take the under. I'll take the under.
Everything.
I'll take the under on that. But Tone, please tell me,
The touchdowns you can hit. The touchdowns you can hit.
Please tell me you haven't gone on Twitter lately. Have you not seen what Jalen Hurts posted or no? Please tell me you didn't see it.
No, why?
All right, let's get the live reaction of Tony looking at what Jalen Hurts tweeted.
I hope he didn't do something Vince Youngish with like a Dream Team comment or something.
No.
Can't blame him. Can't blame him.
Just go look at it. Just look. I saw your boy Mark Drumheller retweeted it. I just saw it now on my feed.
Oh, he did? Hold on. Let's see.
If you can share it here so everybody else can see it, it'd be cool. I don't know how to do the sharing thing. I'm not that tech savvy like you are.
Oh, wait. So I don't get it. It's a training day gift to Denzel.
Yeah, no, I thought it was pretty funny. I thought
he was saying, I love it, man.
Yeah.
Listen.
Oh, he posted that. Okay.
Yeah, Jalen posted
He knows, man. He knows. I keep saying this. Like, everybody's knocking Jalen Hurts because of, whether he can't read a defense or he can't throw a deep ball and he can't do this and he can't do that. he's a guy, in my opinion, was just inconsistent. And he's still learning how to play that position. But the one thing that you need as a quarterback is you need to be a leader. You need people to be able to look at you and stuff like this and stuff that he does and says and the way he trains every single day. He sets an example. He sets the par for all the players on that team. So that's why I like the guy. And listen, I expect nothing but the best, or I hope nothing for the best for Jalen Hurts. And again, I'm still all in with Jalen.
I mean, they're putting the right pieces around him where it might not matter that he achieves his maximum upside. I just question what his upside is in general. But again, to your point, if you're a good leader and you're an above average quarterback, if you're surrounded by weapons and a good defense, which hopefully for your sake the Eagles are, then you don't have to be Aaron Rodgers to win a Super Bowl. You just don't.
And going off the, I mean, it's not even about AJ Brown right now. Think about Smith and his potential. And this is coming from a Giant fan. I think his potential level is through the roof. There's no ceiling for this kid.
But the thing is, here's the difference though, because Devontae Smith, I mean, he's going to be like his ADOT's going to be way higher than AJ Brown. I do think this actually benefits AJ Brown more than it does Devontae Smith, because Devontae Smith, in my opinion, while he'll get his fair share of catches and he doesn't just run long routes, but AJ Brown is the king of turning a quick slant into a house call. And I think with Devontae Smith, with Devontae Smith there kind of creating some space plus Dallas Goedert, I think honestly this is like the perfect team for AJ Brown to have gone to, given not for his fantasy value necessarily, but given what I believe are the limitations for Jalen Hurts, it's the perfect receiver for this team.
Jason, you asked a question before about how can I pick the Giants to win the division, right? And look at all the whiteouts, just the whiteouts in the division with Dallas, Washington, and Philly. And
you got a bunch of them in New York.
Not really.
Galladay sucks, but I think Tony played well last year.
Tony might even be there. Tony wants out.
They're trying to trade Tony.
I think he wants out too. I don't know. I would think a lot want out.
I would see his boy late in the year last year making him money.
Yeah,
if he didn't get that fight, you would have won.
He literally cost me approximately $10,000 because he punched a guy with 7 minutes left in the game, and all he needed was like a couple more catches, and they were feeding him the entire game. If he gets a couple more catches and 20 more yards, I go from like third to first in this single entry contest.
Yeah, but nonetheless, that's why I'm worried. I'm concerned as a Giant fan. You know, you're going to see a number and you're going to bet and you're going to go near the 7, and obviously that number is going to change. Nonetheless, look at the division, and if I had to right now, I would take that under and feel great outside just of the bet, not as a fan, because I think it's going to be hard to win 5 games, and that's not knocking my team. I think that's how good the division's improving. It's not the same division 2 years ago, and that's a knock. I think I don't know the stat, but it's hard to win back-to-back in the NFC East. They rotate big time. They rotate, so I can see a team like Philly just coming out, or just changing the landscape, changing the culture in the NFCs.
Kansas City improving that defense that I said was probably going to start wilting. Defensive end out of Purdue, probably a good pick for them. I think that Giants under win total. By the way, the schedule comes out May 12th, so maybe we analyze then, but that win total under is solid. I think the Colts winning the division is really solid too. I think those are 2 bets that I'm very confident making right now, as opposed to like waiting for quote more information. I really like both of those that you, Mike and Jason pointed out.
I'm just worried. I'm as a Giant fan, I think it's going to take us another. It's scary to know that if you don't find a QB, you're going to have to wait another 4 seasons.
Next year's
you have to wait like half a decade in the NFL now, the way the game is played. And maybe it's a little lighter in the NFC compared to the AFC right now. But even that landscape could change in 2 or 3 seasons in the way players move in the NFL. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking forward to the Giants. To answer Jason's question, to go back before, when we do get that QB, if it's the next Eli Manning or if it's the next star coming out, then it would take another 3 years, because it took Eli 4 years, and it's going to probably take Hurts another 2 seasons to really see his potential and get there. And then if he goes on a playoff run, he's dynamic. The way he runs and he plays the game, now he just needs to calm down, throw the ball to your receivers. He's going to be good. Probably even Pro Bowl.
So Bengals are on the clock here. We haven't done much of this. I think they're definitely going defense. So I'm just going to call defense here, a cornerback or linebacker, maybe even defensive end.
I call corner.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the play. I do want to point out, just from a fantasy standpoint, as we wind down, because there's only 2 picks left. Breece Hall. I don't know when, man, because we were talking about like the Bills potentially getting Breece Hall, how like ridiculous they'd be. Obviously, their 2nd round pick I think is later, but from a fantasy standpoint, I think that is the guy at running back to keep an eye on, and he is going to go off the board tomorrow for sure. So just pointing that out.
I like that because it's funny. I don't know if it was on. It was on another show. I think it was on HRS Live. We were talking about San Diego, and it's kind of a good way to wind the show down. He's thinking about, and again, I know everything's DFS now, and the market has changed. But back with the traditional fantasy leagues, when you got everybody together, you did your league, and there wasn't any DFS. I remember LaDainian Tomlinson was. And when he was drafted at San Diego State, I remember, back then it was kind of like it was frowned upon to say, I'm going to draft a rookie running back as my fantasy running back, because back then they never played right away. And you didn't know you were going to get the production. And LaDainian Tomlinson just put that all to rest, man. Mm-hmm. Like I drafted him that year. He was my number 1 running back and took me to the Super Bowl. So it's funny I'd say, because I think there's a couple of those gems inside this draft that could be really productive come fantasy season.
So throwback, and I'm trying to remember who was first. I could think LT predated, of course, Chris Johnson, but first of all, I watched LT at San Diego State. This is back in the day. This is like kind of like when I first was starting to bet. And so when he came out, I was like, man, I didn't know. I honestly didn't know how good he was going to be. But I remember being like, because I think my knock on him back then, because I was just kind of uneducated about it, I was like, well, he played at San Diego State. Like he didn't play at Alabama or UCLA or whatever. So what a great career. I think he's really underappreciated as an all-around running back, by the way. I think he'll always be like a tier under where people really should be perceiving him. But I was just going to say a couple of the guys that I recall in one of my fantasy leagues, we're talking, this must have been around 2005, that I sprung on their rookie year running backs that completely hooked me up. I believe it was Matt Forte and Chris Johnson.
Dude,
it might have been the same year that they came out, and I just sprung on them.
Man. Oh, he won me some years, say
They were great immediately. They were great immediately.
PPR monster. Monster. You know what we should do? We got to do one day, 1 week. We got to set up, and I did this concept a few years ago on one of the He Ratio shows where we did a 4-round draft, and we picked like a range, and it was this back in the day fantasy players, like who you would like they were all on a table, like whether it be Priest Holmes, whether it be LT guy, Marshall Falk. Who would they be? It was pretty interesting to see some of the names thrown out there. You're like, wow, like I remember Joey Galloway when he had an unbelievable season, right? Like, it's just like Sean Alexander, these names just come out, man. So we got to do something like that.
That's actually a really good idea. I think a lot of people would be interested in that. Jamal Lewis comes to mind, but here, I'll blow you away with one. Christian Okoye.
Oh, the Nigerian Nightmare.
How about that? We opened the show with Prince Amukamara, of course, from Nigeria. We had Theo in the chat earlier, who's Nigerian. The Nigerian Nightmare, man. And he was a nightmare for a couple years.
Best nickname ever.
Yeah.
Best nickname ever, man. I honestly, he was a stud. Man, was he a stud. He wearing them big shoulder pad. You barely even see his head, man. It was huge.
That's right.
Crazy, man. Yeah, we'll come up with some names if we do something like that.
That's a great idea. By the way, Malik Willis still not drafted. I'm very proud of all the GMs in the national. And this isn't a Malik Willis comment. It's a quarterback comment. Like, people are just so hungry for quarterbacks, and nobody really reached. I don't think Kenny Pickett was a reach. Personally, I think that was a really good pick by Pittsburgh. And I think memory serves, only one quarterback's been drafted so far in the first round. That's exactly how it should have been.
Honestly. And I'm going to call the next one. The Carolina Panthers are going to snatch one of those QBs up. And they waited, and that was a smart move just to wait. Obviously, their owner, he gave a vote of confidence to the coaching staff and to Sam Darnold. But now you're going to get some comp coming in. You're probably going to get that guy in the second round now. And obviously save a couple of coins with that coming to the first round. Don't make the Daniel Jones mistake. Don't make the Daniel Jones mistake. I'm just being honest. Don't make it. And teams will learn from that. And I believe this draft is an example. Don't just rush this.
That's like saying don't make the Jalen Reagor mistake, right? So
it's a lot of reports about him. I could see him gone too, though. Respectfully, I could see him gone. I could see him going to another team.
Bye.
Is he? Are you done with him? Like, you think he's definitely bad?
Yeah,
we've had enough time.
You know what it is? Say it's he can't play here. And this isn't I'll be honest with you. You guys, Jason and Mike, what kind of market New York is, but Philly's a really harsh market.
Absolutely.
And my issue with Jalen Reagor, he could have all the talent in the world, but when you're a young athlete and the first thing you do after a game, instead of trying to work on your game, is you go on Instagram and start fighting with fans.
Yeah.
Like that just shows you're immature and your mindset is not ready to be an NFL player.
And to go off Tony off this, it's a maturity level. And I think that's the real issue right now with his game. And the talent's there. But obviously, I'll just say it like this. You have to leave the urban environment alone. You're a professional, and this is your career. And I hope he takes it serious. I can see him changing his culture. I just don't think it's going to be in Philadelphia. I believe he'll be in another system and another organization.
The thing Watkins looks better than him on the field too. Quez Watkins look better than him when they actually are on the field.
They like Quez Watkins a lot.
And when you're building a winning, this is tough for me to say as a Giant fan, but when you're building a winning culture, a winning organization, I don't think he'll fit in. I think you'll see, You're going to see the core guys come out of Philly now, especially this season on the offensive side.
The thing about Philly, though, especially when it comes to receivers, it just takes a couple of drops for a narrative and a couple bad plays for a narrative to be built and for you to like Nelson Aguilar. Yeah, he dropped some balls, like he really did, but he didn't drop as many balls as the Philly fans made it or the media made it out to be.
But see, they're catching babies outside coming out buildings, and that's why they're getting on them. And they see those drops. And I saw that video, and they're like, but see, is right. I'm just adding that joke in there. But in the aspect, you can make a couple of drops. But it's his attitude. It's Rodriguez's attitude.
I agree with that.
His mindset. But he's young. I guess the balance. There's no balance there for him right now. But I see him gone. Philly's on to bigger and better things, obviously, with AJ Brown.
Yeah, I'd say as a Washington fan, if they wanted to just pass off Jalen Reagor to us for like a 5th round pick, I'll take it. I don't think that the experiment's done with Jalen Reagor. Absolutely not.
He just needs a new culture, and now that goes back to Baker. Doesn't Baker need a new experience?
Yeah,
Baker needs a second chance. He's
one of those guys that like
terrible.
Kind of like
you can't. See, sorry to cut you off, but Baker's my hot button.
That's why I did that for Jason. I wanted
so much of you guys' points. If you're out there doing commercials before you really want anything,
what are you going to turn down the money? Allstate's throwing like millions of dollars at him. He's going to be like, no, I'm not good enough yet.
Exactly. Jason, you already got millions of dollars.
Jason, put that away. That's not an argument. Talk about him as a quarterback. He's a bad quarterback.
If I'm going to the NFL, high draft pick, I got paid. I got my nice house. The commercials can always come and all that other endorsement stuff. He's got a pretty face, whatever. You can go out there and do all that. But like he's more known right now for those dumbass commercials of him like being on the field and whatever the hell is going on than his actual game.
So you put Barkley in there.
Establish yourself as a player first in this league, and then go those endorsement deals. Like to me, that's chump change for whatever you got. You can go be a commentator afterwards. You can do all this and do all that, but like you shouldn't be doing commercials until you won some playoff games.
Evidence that you have a personal issue that has nothing to do with football against Baker Mayfield is don't do the commercials until you're good enough to do the commercials.
Literally
have agents. You have agents and handlers and all these people that are telling you can get millions of dollars and will get paid millions of dollars as your agent.
He's got money. He's comfortable with his money, man.
Isn't good enough yet to make all those millions of dollars.
To my point, I think you can agree to this too, right?
It's a bad point. Your point was he's a bad quarterback. To leave it at that. You don't need to be like, oh, he shouldn't do the Allstate commercials. That's ridiculous.
But like, I'm not gonna do something for money that doesn't like for whatever money. I'm not gonna do it if it's not core to. If I'm a football player, I'm a football player. I'm not a commercial dude. Like I shouldn't be doing commercial. I shouldn't be rapping. I shouldn't be doing anything. I should be playing football.
This is like the worst take I've ever heard you. Like, this is a personal problem you have with Baker Mayfield. It's every single high-profile athlete, when they get drafted number 1 overall or number 5 overall, they all get endorsement deals. You
can do that deal, but now you're in the league. Baker's in the league for how long?
Going on 4 years. 5 at least. Yeah.
All right, so 4 or 5 years. He doesn't need money at this point. Is my point. He doesn't need money.
So call Allstate and tell them to stop airing the commercials.
No.
Like,
Don't do the commercials. I'm saying spend more time. It took time to fill those commercials. It wasn't like, just 10 minutes to go do a commercial. It took days and weeks and a lot of time to get all that stuff together.
I did a commercial today.
I'm saying
it took about 7 hours.
Put that time into your craft, not into your commercial.
You put Damian Lillard in that?
Let's derail there for a second.
You put Damian Lillard in that conversation?
Was that?
Because Damian Lillard hasn't won in the league yet, and he's
won. He's won. He's legit. He can go whatever the hell he wants.
Yeah, he hasn't won.
No, but it's not his fault. There's no talent around it. He's legit as he can get. His game is great. You can't get much better than what Dame is.
You put Barkley in there. Barkley did the Hulu commercial.
I think he's done enough. He's got hurt. I give him he had time. He's hurt. He can't really do some stuff.
To go off you, I put Baker and Barkley in the same field in the NFL where they haven't won nothing. They shouldn't be in the commercial.
Barkley legit is good. He's off the charts good. Baker's whatever. But let's go to the next topic. Lamar Jackson.
Turn down money until you've won playoff games is what Jason is
telling every single athlete in the world. To your a top 15 quarterback in the league. What I'm getting at is State Farm for going at him because he's not even good. But
was it State Farm? I said
whatever it was. All State.
It's a couple commercials. Baker's out there. Baker's on Hulu. He's on commercials.
But look at Lamar Jackson's Twitter line right now. You see that one? He threw up the WTF, so he ain't happy. I know he likes Hollywood, but I also think he's kind of pissed off that he doesn't have
I could see Lamar Jackson leaving Baltimore, or not sitting out. Lamar Jackson should play. Nonetheless,
progressive. Yeah, we were both wrong.
Yeah, if Lamar Jackson, if you're Baltimore and you know he doesn't want to sign, and he's not going to sign, and you can even force his franchise tag, but if you really look at the future of the organization, it might not be good to have Lamar Jackson there. And if there was trade value, the way these teams are giving up number 1 picks and moving around, I mean, look at the deal for Tyreek Hill. I would take that deal if I knew I wasn't going to win. And I knew this player didn't want to stay on my team. And he didn't want to even look at my contracts right now. And he's the agent. I can't even send this to his management or his office. I wouldn't be shocked at all. And especially if he goes out. It's a player league now. And players have control. And if they do want to come out and say, I'm out of here, I wouldn't be shocked at all.
Yeah, I hear you. Is that the draft? Is round 1 over?
Yeah, look at Rodgers' head, man. He had a long night too.
Yeah, did you see that?
Yeah, he had a long night. I'm telling you. Rodgers' head. Yeah, he's all over the place. Yeah, he looks tired. It was a long day for the draft. I think the draft was very successful though for the league outside of for fantasy. Obviously, more defensive draft, but nonetheless, a solid wideout. So my question before I leave, because I do have to get ready to go, I'll throw a plug out here after. Last year, you had Jamar Chase. The season before that, you had Justin Jefferson, who's this wideout this season that could, obviously, those are hard stats to match. But who puts up that 1,200-yard season at one of these rookies? I mean, we have 7 to pick from. Or 6, I believe. I believe the number 6. I don't believe it hit 7.
Who went in the best system with the best quarterback?
That's the thing. So Garrett Wilson, I would normally say, but on the Jets, I'm not super comfortable with that.
That's not good.
Chris Olave on the Saints with Jameis Winston, not super comfortable with that. Drake London on a USFL team, not super comfortable with that.
What's the USFL team?
I like that.
The Falcons.
I like that.
Jahan Dotson, Washington, not super excited about that with Carson Wentz.
None of these dudes.
Treylon Burks from Arkansas, who's on the Titans now. There's no way you could be excited about that. He's obviously going to be replacing A.J. Brown there.
It's someone who hasn't gone yet then, probably.
Exactly. I actually think that's the answer because there's some wide receiver talent that's still there.
I just wonder myself because it was the last 2
round
seasons
to
we
Green
had.
Bay or 3rd round to Green Bay.
Just the last 2 seasons, the 2 wideouts and Chase. No one thought he was going to have that season in the aspect. Obviously, Joe Burrow, and he stepped up huge. I wonder though, there is some great talent from these wideouts, and I know I'm worried myself, so I want to see what happens.
Yeah, well, guys, 3 hours, 33 minutes, and almost 33 seconds. 33 happens to be my lucky number, so probably a good time to end the show. We did it. We did round one. Had some great guests. Chris Cody couldn't make it. Andrew Erickson couldn't make it, but we had David Bierman, which was awesome. We had a tour of the ESPN studio.
Good job.
Who else? Obviously, Prince of Mukamura. That was awesome. Had a couple other guests. It's been so
Jeff
long.
Feinberg.
Oh, Jeff Feinberg. Geez, how do I forget that? And then you guys, this was awesome. This is a really good time.
Good job, Sia. Thanks for putting it together, man. Thanks.
Yeah,
I was listening in my car earlier. I was super impressed. The comments coming in. I wanted to get on some people with the comments, but we'll do that another time. I saw some comments. I was like, I was waiting, but we gotta be professional here.
That's okay. Listen. That's how I got the Jigsaw thing, because I was a comment guy. So I would sit all day going back and forth with cats all day.
I saw someone put Hall was going to be the best wide out the draft. I disagree. So, but yeah, that's right.
Ivan, Brian, Casey, a lot of guys stayed in the chat. Theo was in the chat most of the time. Andy Harrison was in the chat most of the time. You guys crushed it. Good job.
I thought you guys crushed it. I thought congratulations to Win Daily. Congrats. Yeah. Great draft show.
Let's we'll take the next couple of days, maybe cut up some fun clips from this 3.5 hours of content. Don't worry, Torres. We're not
cut off the clip with Jason.
We're not putting that on
YouTube.
you.
Not taking the money.
Yeah, I'm
send that to every financial school in America to not show their kids and their students. Just throwing it out there.
You guys have great highlights from tonight. You guys have great highlights from tonight.
All right, guys. Go ahead, Jason.
Just give me 1 second. Baker Mayfield's net worth is $12 million. $12 million. I don't think he needs to do these dumbass commercials, bro. Those commercials.
His net worth is way more than $12 million.
I was just gonna say that his net worth is way more.
Even more argument, man. If you got more than that money, you don't need to be doing commercials. Did you see how Prince of Mukamar, when I asked him, yo, do you want to, if you don't get a call for the NFL, do you want to go to, he said, no way. So you think if you're a professional athlete.
This is the worst argument I've ever heard.
Oh,
it's
man,
so bad.
It's really
so bad that so bad that I don't even want to respond to it, because I would dignify the words that are actually coming out of your mouth.
Man.
It's really truly that bad. Nobody's turning down millions of dollars.
All right, how about this? How about this here? How about this? You think he's happy when he sees it? You think he's happy when he sees his own face with his stupid, what do you have on? You think he's happy to see himself out there when he knows he's a loser and he just got a guy?
He's saying, "Yo, I'm getting paid."
Deshaun Watson did what he did, right? Baker Mayfield go shot commercials, and then he got outed by what Deshaun and now he has to go see. I don't even think he's happy with his own decision to make those commercials.
I'll say this, not about the commercial. I'm shocked that Baker Mayfield isn't on a team right now.
I agree.
I'm shocked. I'm shocked that Baker Mayfield, with the talent in the league, backup, starter, whatever his situation is, how it was handled in Cleveland with Deshaun coming in, Baker Mayfield should be on an NFL team, and maybe now after the draft he'll be looked at.
Yeah, it's interesting.
He should. Even though Jason has his sake.
I'll say one more thing about Baker. Didn't you? Someone, I think it was you, who's Baker's coach right now?
You mean who's the coach of the Browns?
Yeah.
What's his name again, guys? Drawing a blank.
What's his name?
Yeah.
I've got his name right now, but don't you think Baker had it's a product of his, he's just not it's all run game, it's all systems, and it's defense that's won all those games for Baker, in my opinion. He hasn't done much. He had a couple good games. I'll give him a couple good games.
I'm not saying Baker's good. I'm not saying Baker's a good quarterback. I think that's irrelevant to your point. I'm saying whether you're good or bad, you're not going to turn down millions of dollars to do commercials. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
I'll take Baker right now in the New York Giants. I'll win more than 6 games with Baker.
I agree with you. I could make an argument. I don't want to, but that he's not much of a downgrade from Carson Wentz for the Commanders. I think it's
I would take
it's
him
6
over
of one,
Carson.
half a dozen of the other.
Yeah,
I would take him over Carson. Kevin
I would take him
Stefanski,
over
by
there.
the way.
Oh, there we
Because
go.
Stefanski's the name, man.
You know what it is? I knew he was there, but I forgot he was still there. Like, because they
He could walk around in Fifth Avenue. You wouldn't even know who he was. I'm not.
During Baker's career, how many times did you roster Baker Mayfield as a DFS player?
Almost, I think never. I don't think I've ever.
Yeah, I don't think I ever did.
I've rostered him a lot.
I've rostered Baker a couple of times.
That's
Really?
a Stefanski
for low
thing more than
value
it is a
to
Baker
get
thing.
other players. Yeah,
Because I thought, listen, he was always 5,500. 5,500 for a quarterback. You pick him in the right spot. You know what I mean? So I did play him for that specific purpose. I was a big proponent of Baker Mayfield when they drafted him. Everybody said Barkley. I said, nah, they got the right guy. That's what you do. You go quarterback. I don't care. You got to get the guy. So, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. His story's like Natasha Bedingfield said, still unwritten. So
we'll see. It's mostly been written though. I mean, I think we know he's not exactly the quarterback that people drafted him for, but whatever. He could still be a serviceable guy for the next 10 years.
He only has a couple of teams. He only has a couple of teams this season to look at. And if those teams even haven't reached out or they don't reach out soon, this is going to be an interesting story. I can't wait to see. Ongoing.
Yeah, he might only be doing Progressive commercials for a year or so.
Who's the backup quarterback for the Chiefs? Anybody know? It'll be.
I remember he came in and they called that fourth down play. They called that fourth down play, and it was actually a throw. Remember that? Andy Reid with like the most gutsiest call ever in life.
That's an Andy Reid project.
Oh,
right there.
That's interesting.
You watch.
But I thought you guys killed it tonight. I'm super proud of the team. I know we're gonna have some good shows this weekend.
That's right.
Looking forward to it with you guys. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. I am gonna hit the bed. It's been a long day with NFL.
Yeah,
we're all doing it. Everybody, good job tonight. NFL. And it's our third annual show. We're going to do the fourth annual next year. And the only other thing we have to say is sports.